Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next church on February 20th, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How, does the FBI find people? The people's misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
I object.
Alrighty, there we go. Now we're ready. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I'm back in court. Look, with the green shirt that matches my other shirt. Mostly. It's pretty close, right? It's pretty close. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. Welcome back, welcome back. We are excited to get back into court in Arizona in this the Rancher trial, the shooting down near the border. Mr. Kelly charged with shooting someone on his land. State has a lot to prove here. We'll see what happens. The case is moving forward. We've had a difficult testimony with the interpreter over the last day, but I think we're moving on. We're moving on. Fun things happening right now in the world of true crime. We talked about earlier this morning. We talked about the sentencing for the FTX, the Bitcoin heist. Law and Lumber. Rob from Law and Lumber is live tweeting that as well, sort of a response to that. I don't think he's actually in the courtroom, but he's responding and following the events as they happen because that's not televised. To my knowledge, it's only available to someone who's there in person. That's the way federal courts work. So good times there. So if you want to follow that Bitcoin developments, Law and Lumber on Twitter is a great place to watch that. Let's see. We have a first in chat today. It was Kristen Hyde. Kristen, my friend. How are you doing, Kristen? How were you doing until this moment? I should say. Let's. I'm gonna bring
from
FTX.
Call from FTX. I knew as soon as I said Bitcoin, I was going to hear from you. First of all, it's great to hear from you. Can you hold on for just a second while I inform Kristen of the consequences of her actions?
Somebody just
today.
sent me a video of roaches fighting. I don't know.
Okay, hold on, Ivan.
Yes, sir.
Kristen, we were just enjoying the break. It was quiet. It was calm. A few of us were doing some breathing exercises, a little bit of yoga, some self-reflection. Some introspection was going on, and we were quietly just minding our own business when you burst into the chat room and yelled hi. You were first in chat. You broke the silence. You broke the law. We're going to sentence you with internet ownership as punishment for that, and you're responsible for everything IP related worldwide, which is a lot today because a lot of things are going on. Lee took it this morning, so Lee, if you could just email it over to Kristen, just the whole internet in an email, that would be great. And Kristen, any problem with the internet anyone has worldwide, they're going to reach out to you for that. Congratulations. This is the first offense for you. It goes on your permanent record. If you'd like to make a record, if you'd like to have like a printed copy of this, you can go to the merchandise, the shopping page on the YouTube channel, and click on the internet ownership certificate option. There's a fine involved. It's 50 cents. You have to pay the fine. Then you can download it, fill out the blank, and you can add it to your resume. Now, thank you. Congratulations, Kristen. First in chat. Ivan. How's Bitcoin doing? How's Bitcoin doing?
Very solid. Very solid. Just checking my chart here. We are currently sitting at $71,286. So we are up 25% on the month. So it's going strong. The halving is coming soon. I know 90% of you don't know what that means, but it is rapidly approaching where what the halving means. The people who don't care, which is I'm sure is the same 90%, means that the rewards people get for mining Bitcoin will be cut in half, meaning So,
Meaning you have to do twice the work for the same amounts of pay.
correct, which generally
Potential pay,
throws
'cause
the market.
It's a lottery.
Throws it into a bull market every other time. It happens about every 4 years, and throws it into a year-long bull market. That's been a trend. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
All right.
So anyway, I have big plans today. I am Googling how to steal the moon.
I'm sure somebody heard the live stream this morning and said, "Hey, we overlooked this. We're going to quickly pass a law and make it against the law to damage, sell, destroy, or another way dispose of the moon." Because that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's wild. This it sort of reminds me of like a John Grisham book, where the potential defense team is trying to poison the well with this elaborate call center. It's literally, I've read all the John Grisham books because it's sort of
because it's John Grisham.
Parallel.
You have to read them.
Yeah, well, right.
It's the law.
It's a good, easy read, and so it's a natural true crime fit, I think. And so he was a lawyer, he was a congressman. So, but in any event, that's just sort of what it reminded me of. Is my other question is these are public defenders, right? They're representing them. I'm almost positive. Like, where's the money coming from to set this up?
He originally was that's a tough one. You're talking about Daybell, right? Chad Daybell. Oh, sorry, BK. Sorry.
No,
BK.
I'm talking about Koberger. I'm talking about Koberger potentially poisoning the well with calling these people.
Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking for some reason about Chad Daybell, and his situation with public defender is weird because he actually hired him. Now he can't pay anymore. The guy has to keep providing the services even though he's not getting paid. Talking about Koberger, he did win the lottery. He is a public defender, and he got basically the best person out there because she's the only one available. And so it is public defenders for Koberger. But we have court that's beginning right now. We've got feed from court, so we have to sort of jump over there. Ivan, good to hear from you, my friend. We have to talk offline sometime.
Have a great day.
We'll see you.
You got it.
All right.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Yep, bye.
All right, we're gonna get everything set up here.
Oh, that's right.
We got a hot mic in court.
Okay.
So let's just get set up with the audio.
Okay.
We want it in both ears. Ready?
I have to remind everyone every
There we
single
go.
day to remember not to record, of course, the jurors. And you can only record when the judge is on the bench. When he's off the bench, you need to turn off the audio and the video because in other instances, the camera kept rolling and they were live streaming. And that's not good. And we get in trouble.
Rules be rules, apparently. So ignore the fact that the camera is rolling right now. The judge is not on the bench, and the audio's on.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
Every time the he goes to bars, we can't see anything. It's just
And hear
bars.
anything. Okay.
And then he'll shut down the mics. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. That works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the plan.
I don't know. Did you talk to Lucy? Because I'm not going to be here tomorrow, but a different camera guy.
Yes.
And
He sent me an email. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, they're figuring out the details of how the camera system is going to work in court. We have a changeover between different camera operators. That's all right. We're going to keep watching and listening as they get prepared to start live. It's in about 6 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes. So
people do not get to have it their way.
People don't get to have it their way. Let's see. Pauline, welcome. Hello, good to have you here. Let's see. So if someone would have invested like $900 into MicroStrategy a month ago, they would have like $1,800 now. Yes, the MicroStrategy went up quite a bit. But had you invested, I don't know, let's say $500 into Bitcoin when it was, let's make this more realistic to my situation. If you had invested $5, that's the big 5.0. $5 when Bitcoin was $900. It was actually 912. So 912 divided by no. Yeah, 912 divided by 5. So I would have like why can't I do this? Math is hard, guys. I have $5 of Bitcoin when it was $912. So So 912 is to 5. What 71,000 is to blank? Is that the problem? Somebody with math skills, help me out here. I don't know how to check my wallet amount. Math is hard. I do actually have $5 of Bitcoin that was purchased when Bitcoin was $912. I think it's like $300-400 now. Is that right? So how about this? Well, let's do this. 71,000 divided by 912 is 77.85 times 5, so up to $389. There you go. If I had invested like 1,000 in Bitcoin when it started, I'd have 6 million. Lenovo. I remember the day my neighbor across the street from me showed me his basement where he had all these computers and fans running where he was mining Bitcoin. I'm like, what does it do? And he's like, oh, you just get these coins and you can store them in this digital wallet. And I'm like, it's not even a game. I mean, there's nothing to see on the screen. You're just numbers. And I mean, nobody wants them. He's like, yeah, but you know, I was able to order a pizza with like 1,100 Bitcoin. He ordered a pizza with 1,100 Bitcoin. And now if we just do the math here, 71,000 times 1,100, that's $78 million worth of Bitcoin that he ordered a pizza with just a few years ago. So, crazy. $78 million worth of pizza. I hope it was good. I hope it was delicious. The funny thing is he didn't stop. So he's actually ready to retire on the Bitcoin he has right now. Let's see. Don't understand Bitcoin. It's a little bit nerdy. Robin, here we go. We've got court coming. Hold tight. We've got some things happening. Just one second. Everyone's standing. Where is that neighbor now? In a new house. I can tell you that, Lois. He's in a new house. He actually, he bought a house and then he bought the house next door to him as well. Because he wanted 2 houses and he wanted combined yards. Bitcoin is only worth what people think it's worth. There's nothing backing it. That's the tough thing. It's not like the gold standard back in the day when the U.S. dollar used to be worth $1 worth of gold or $1 worth of silver. So 1 pizza and 2 houses. Yeah. And bring the jury. All rise for the court. Here we go. Let's do some audio work. My system reset, so I have to redo all the audio settings.
Records show the presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant. We're on the record. The state calls next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Agent Heredia.
Please tell me this isn't the angle we get for the whole day. Is the cameraman like out to lunch? There we go. We're shooting from like lap height for the camera. Did they forget their tripod? We're barely going to see this guy's the top of his head over the bench.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I guess tripods are expensive.
Good morning. Would you please tell the jury your full name and your occupation?
Correct. My name is Roberto, middle initial E, last name of Heredia, with an H. I'm a Border Patrol agent working for the Nogales Border Patrol Station.
Sir, could you spell your last name for the court reporter?
It'll be H-E-R-E-D as in dog, I-A.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you tell the jury just a little bit about yourself?
I've been with Border Patrol for approximately going on 15 years here in July. I've been stationed in the Nogales Station my whole career. I am a local, raised here in Nogales, Arizona, currently living in Rio Rico.
And what sort of assignments have you had over that 15-year period that you've been here at the Nogales Border Patrol Station?
I've had numerous assignments ranging from undercover work to detention work and part of a mountain team for approximately 5 years.
Sorry about that, guys.
And in January of 2023, what was your assignment?
I was assigned to the east side of Nogales, Arizona, as part of that mountain team.
Did that include the Keno Springs area?
Yes, it did.
I want to clear up a question one of the jurors had earlier with another
All my
witness,
settings are broken.
before we get started on the events of January 30th. Could you tell us the difference between a checkpoint and a port?
Yes, the port of entry is the main entry into the United States. That is usually manned by CBP officers, custom officials. A checkpoint is further in the interior of the United States, primarily checking for immigration status, and is primarily manned by Border Patrol agents.
So checkpoints are you all green shirts?
Correct.
Border Patrol?
Correct.
And then ports of entry are blue shirts?
Blue shirts, that is correct.
And the ports of entry, those are right on the border?
Right on the border, correct.
And then you all are responsible, if I understand correctly, for the checkpoints and everything in between the ports of entry?
That is correct.
Give me a second to get this fixed here.
Okay, so now I'd like to talk about January 30th of 2023. We heard another Border Patrol agent talk about his experience. Did you go to an academy as well?
I did go to an academy. The academy was in Artesia, New Mexico. Academy was approximately 4 months for me because I know how to speak Spanish, so I didn't have to stay for the Spanish part.
And you had the same field training as other officers, is that right?
That is correct.
And the probationary period?
That is correct, except the exception of mine, at the time I came in, my probation was 2 years instead of the regular one.
Kristen, you're doing great. Good job. The power went out.
Now,
Some of these settings
I
were
want to talk about
lost.
January 30th of 2023. Were you on duty on that day?
Correct, I was on duty.
And were you called to 100 Willow Cross Circle in Keno Springs?
Yes, I do not, to be honest with you, I do not know the exact address, but it was a Vermilion Ranch.
Vermilion Mountain Ranch?
Correct.
Do you know the homeowner's name there?
I knew after the incident, but Mr. George Allen Kelly.
And that location is in Santa Cruz County?
That is correct.
Can you tell me on January 30th of 2023, before you got this call, what were you doing and where were you located?
I was located somewhere along Highway 82, I think around the area of the Circle K. Just prepping for that day. I was prepping to patrol the east side, Duquesne Road, all that area.
And the Circle K you're referring to, is that the one in Nogales?
The one in Nogales, Arizona by Highway 82.
Okay. And so is that the road that leads out to where Keno Springs is located?
That is correct. Further north should be the road that takes you to Keno Springs.
And so that would be northeast of where you were in Nogales, is that right?
Correct.
So what time were you dispatched to this call?
The call came in at approximately 2:40 p.m.
And when you received the call, what information did you have?
The information that came out through the radio was something to the effect that the owner of the Vermilion Ranch had reported that there were people shooting at him in his property.
And did you respond to the location after you received that dispatch call?
Yes, I did.
And were you in a vehicle by yourself or did you have a partner in your vehicle?
I was in a vehicle by myself.
Do you know how long it took you to get there?
It must have been approximately 15 minutes.
And when you arrived at the location, can you tell me, you said you were dispatched at 2:40, but I'm a little confused about that. Were you dispatched prior to that and arrived at 2:40, or Or did you get dispatched at 2:40?
I believe I got dispatched approximately 2:40.
And would your report refresh your recollection on that issue?
It would.
That means you gave the wrong answer. If she's saying, but she keeps asking the question, do you remember? Can you correct this? Because you're wrong. You're wrong.
I can have just a second while I find your report.
Yes, ma'am.
I picked up as part of my gear for when I go mobile, I picked up a new headphone. They're actually earbuds. They're a little smaller than what I wear right now. These right here. So I'm going to be testing those out.
Will do, Judge. Thank you. I'm pretty sure I had pulled it, so I'm not sure which one. So after you got there, were you the first to arrive? Was there anyone else there?
I was the first one to arrive at the scene.
And when you got there, what did you discover when you approached the property?
I got off my vehicle. The front gate of the property was shut or locked. So I remember jumping the front gate and making my way towards the front of the ranch house.
And when you made your way over to the front door or to the front of the ranch house, what did you observe when you got there?
When I got there, I observed a lady that was at the door of the ranch house, at the front door of the ranch house. I wasn't quite at the front door. I never made it that way. But I talked to the lady. I wanted to make sure she was okay. The lady stated that she was okay. Lady stated that approximately...
Your Honor, I'm not offering this for the proof of the matter asserted, but for what this officer did next and why he went the direction he did.
The objection's overruled. So I think this is the first time I'm giving you something that we call in the law a limiting instruction. Okay? And that means I'm giving an instruction about what the evidence is being admitted for that the witness is going to testify to. So the question was, what did the lady, who we all assume is Mrs. Kelly, say to him? And that is hearsay because Mrs. Kelly is not here in court testifying to it. But it's not offered, here's the instruction. This is not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So it's not offered, you should not consider it, you should not consider what you were about to hear that Mrs. Kelly said as being proof of the truth about what she's saying. Okay? It's only being offered to explain what this officer did next. All right? So just theoretically, hypothetically, putting this situation aside, hearsay can be admitted. Let's say some other case, some person yells, there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire, it's burning over there. It might not be true at all, but it explains why the firemen ran or the police ran to that location, went to that location. Could turn out to be true, could turn out not to be true. It's not offered to prove that there was a fire or that fire is actually existing. It's offered to prove what this witness did next to explain his subsequent actions. So for those reasons, with a limiting instruction, the objection is overruled. I went a little far on that than I usually do. That's to explain what a limiting instruction is.
Thank you. Agent Heredia, you said there was a woman, a lady at the home, is that right?
That is correct.
Did you at any point discover the identity of that lady?
No, I didn't know her name. I didn't know who she was.
No problem. And so you spoke with her. Could you describe her? Do you recall anything about her?
The judge made a mistake and said we assumed this was...
The clothing, I cannot recollect the clothing. I know she had white hair, elderly looking lady.
Okay, thank you. And so you spoke with this lady, and what was it that she said to you at that point?
Again, I asked if she was okay. She stated she was okay. She stated that 15 minutes prior to my arrival, her husband and her, I seen approximately 5 individuals or 5 subjects near the south end of the property that were carrying long arms and bundles of narcotics.
And what did she tell you next?
She said that her husband had taken off after them, and she pointed in this gesture, pointing south. She said that her husband had taken off walking south towards the subjects, I assume.
Now, you described the area where you hopped the fence. So I'm going to show you a map.
Not for the truth of the matter asserted. They're going into a lot of that hearsay. Wow. It is hearsay, but the objection was not for the truth of the matter asserted. The judge said, I'm going to allow it. And it's pretty damning. So he went after them, grabbed his gun, went after them.
And Your Honor, if it's all right with the court, I'm just going to show the electronic version. Agent Heredia, do you recognize this general map?
Yes, I do.
And what does that appear to be?
That appears to be George Helen Kelly's residence, the ranch.
And Your Honor, the state moves for admission of State's Exhibit 114.
No objections, Your Honor.
114 is a good.
May I publish, Your Honor?
All right, let's see their map.
And just for the jury's information, this is actually 114. The slide says 115, just so as not to cause any confusion. And can you tell me, sir, is this the area, can you tell the jury how you approached the residence when you first got there that day?
Okay, I parked at the front gate. Is there a way I can show them here on screen or no?
Yes, if you touch on the upper left, there should be a little stylus. It'll give you a color. There you go. And then you can just touch the screen with the stylus.
That is the front gate that I was referring to. I parked my vehicle right next to that front gate. I got off the vehicle with my service-issued rifle, my M4 rifle, and I hopped the fence, made my way down this road. Sorry.
Tech support is here to teach how to use the pen. She's been most useful.
All right, sounds good.
And Agent Heredia,
Can't be tech's like.
before you try to draw on that, sir, I'm gonna make it a little larger.
Yes, ma'am.
Embiggen?
Thank you.
Is that helpful?
That is.
Are you able to see the gates on the zoomed in copy of zoomed in
I
photograph? Okay,
I-
could you show us then where the gates are?
It should be right around this area.
And that's the area where you parked your car and hopped the gate?
That is correct.
And then where did you approach the house?
I jumped the fence here, walked towards the house this way. I remember at that time there was a truck parked here, and I made my way here, and I think Mrs. Kelly was right there at her front door.
Okay, and that's where she was when you spoke with her?
That is correct.
What's the next thing you did after you spoke with Mrs. Kelly and she told you that her husband had gone south after the subjects?
Okay, I told Mrs. Kelly to shelter in place. My concern at that time was armed individuals, and I was by myself. So I went back to my truck to wait for backup. And that's what I did, hopped the fence and then waited for backup at my truck.
Okay, and were you aware that backup was on the way?
Yes, I was aware.
And how did you know that?
Because my agent, my partner agent, Paul Duggan, who was riding a separate vehicle, also acknowledged the traffic.
Did you hear anything at that point?
Once my partner arrived, I could hear sirens in the background, and it turned out to be Santa Cruz County Sheriff officers.
So were they very far behind?
They were several seconds behind my partner.
And then after you heard the officers, after the other officers arrived, what did y'all do?
So we had once I made contact with the Santa Cruz County officers, I told them the information that Mrs. Kelly had given me. And again, our priority was armed individuals. So we made our way back to the house, to the ranch house. So I met with the officers there. We made our way back. And then we did like a hasty perimeter check.
And what do you mean by a hasty perimeter check?
Hasty perimeter check, we just checked around this area, make sure that everything was okay. There was no armed individuals in the area.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
Again, we're looking for, first of all, the well-being of Mr. Kelly, and make sure that there was no immediate threat to the residents of the house and to us.
And after you did that perimeter check, what did y'all do at that point?
After the quick hasty perimeter check, I don't know the direction where everybody went, but we fanned out. So I just saw like sheriffs going this way, sheriffs going this way. My partner, Paul Duggan, and I believe we went this way. I don't believe we went that way. We went south. In the direction where Miss Kelly had pointed that her husband had taken off to.
And I'd like to show the next another exhibit. So if we could take this.
Sorry, Kristen.
So I just want to make sure, you said you headed off in the southerly direction, and if I'm clear, that's because of what Mrs. Kelly told you about where Mr. Kelly went, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so I'm going to show you another exhibit. Could you take a look at State's Exhibit 115 on your screen, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that appear to be a larger map of the Kelly property?
It is.
Your Honor, move for admission of State's Exhibit 115.
Your Honor, I have no objection. Of course, this exhibit says 114. It would be good if they would cross that off and mark it as 115. It's getting confusing when the numbers aren't the numbers that they're supposed to be.
Exhibit 115 is admitted.
The judge's mic's off right now. Sorry. I could turn it up, but it would be deafening when we went back to
Your Honor, it's not the exhibits that are the issue. The exhibits are properly marked. It's just the slides. And could we publish, please?
It's not the exhibits that are the problem. It's the slide that's off.
And sir, you said you headed out from the house and that you headed south.
Correct.
Do you see a dirt road on this map?
Yes, I do.
Did you follow that dirt road or did you go a different direction?
No, I didn't follow the dirt road. I'll use the term bushwhacking. We just went through the brush across that dirt road.
And could you show the jury what direction generally you and your partner traveled?
Yes. So from the house,
this could be useful.
that is more or less the direction we traveled. We didn't cross the road. I overreached there, but we didn't. We stayed on the road. That's when we saw Mr. Kelly walking towards us. So when we got to this point, okay, I'm gonna clear it now. Mr. Kelly was walking this way towards us with his two dogs.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. I
Yes.
want to talk about your trip. And I just want to make sure, you said earlier that your partner Dugan was with you, is that right?
That is correct.
So the two of you were traveling together on this path through the property.
Correct.
And when you traveled through that property, I see that the line you drew looks like you went through a wash. Did you go through a wash or an arroyo?
Yes, we went through a wash, a royal, yes.
And when you traveled through that area, did you make any observations of any kind at that point?
No,
Did you see any people or any sign of foot traffic?
no, I didn't see any people, I didn't see any.
Were you looking for foot traffic at that point?
I was just looking for, armed individuals for the safety, but no, I wasn't looking for any particular groups or anything like that.
Okay, so but you didn't see anyone as you were traveling through there?
No, I did not see anyone.
And when you approached the road and you saw Mr. Kelly coming, which direction was Mr. Kelly coming? And was he on the road? Was he on the trail or off the road, or where was he?
He was on the road and he was walking that direction, but on the road.
And you said he had his two dogs with him?
He had his two dogs with him, very friendly, came up to greet us. They licked our hands. They were just very playful dogs.
And what did you observe about Mr. Kelly as you saw him walking down the road?
When he was walking towards us, he had a rifle cradled on his left arm, kind of like the way hunters cradle their rifles. That's the way he had his rifle.
And I see you making a gesture, but could you show the jury what you mean by that?
Yes. So the rifle he was cradling, he had his arm like this, and the rifle was cradled across his chest.
So across his chest diagonally and over his right shoulder?
Yes. Yes.
And holding it with his left arm?
Yes.
Thank you. And when you observed him, after you greeted the dogs, what's the next thing you did?
And Mr. Kelly, I advised Mr. Kelly, I asked him if he was okay. Mr. Kelly said he was okay. And then he stated that I told him that we responded to the area because the call came in that there were people shooting at him in his property. He stated that he had seen around 5 to 7 individuals carrying bundles of narcotics around the ranch house.
Could you pause for a second? Does that accurately reflect the statement you just made?
Yes.
And he told you they were carrying narcotics?
Yes, they were carrying bundles of narcotics, yes.
Did he say anything about seeing any firearms?
No.
And what's the next thing he told you?
He stated that he knew the difference between regular illegal aliens and mules because he had been living in the area for a long time.
And what did he tell you his observations were about these people?
After we kept on walking on the road, and after that, he stated that he had heard a gunshot.
Let me stop you a second. I want to go back to his statements about knowing the difference between whether someone's an immigrant or what was the other phrase he used?
A mule.
Okay, a mule. And when he indicated that he knew the difference between the two, did he tell you what was the difference in his mind?
Well, the mules carry big bundles of marijuana on their backs, big bundles of narcotics.
That's what he told you?
He said bundles of narcotics.
Okay. And so did he tell you how he knew and which he believed they were?
He believed they were mules because of big bundles, and he had been living in that area for a long time, and he could tell the difference between a regular illegal immigrant and a mule.
And at that point, did he reference large backpacks as well?
Yes.
So does that statement on your screen now accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what did he say happened next?
He said that he had heard a gunshot. Did
he tell you when? Was that before or after he saw these individuals?
After he saw him. After he saw him, he heard a gunshot, and that he did not know where the gunshot came from or who had shot. but he did emphasize that he saw the mules running back south towards the international boundary fence as if they were scared.
And the statement I have on your screen, does that accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes,
And you said additionally that he didn't know where the shot came from
correct,
or who shot,
correct,
and that they appeared scared?
correct.
And does that accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes, it does.
What he's confirming on the screen, she's doing basically a PowerPoint presentation of
Did he tell
each
you
of these
anything else
points
at that
like she
time?
did with the phone calls.
Did he ever say that he was shot at?
No, he never stated that.
He just said he heard a shot.
Correct.
Did he ever tell you at any point that he saw any weapons?
No, he did not say.
Did he ever mention anyone pointing a weapon at him?
No, he never said that.
Did he ever tell you that he was afraid?
No.
Object to leading.
No, he never stated that he was afraid. He didn't look like he was afraid. He was calm. He didn't look nervous to me.
So his demeanor at that point was very calm?
Yes, very respectful, very, very calm.
The weapon he was carrying, did he ever tell you that he discharged that weapon?
No, he never stated that.
That's all I have for this witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor.
They'll probably ask to keep that up on the screen. Let's see. We
Good
can't see
morning.
it.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I did have to go back to have him take a look at the time. I forgot to ask him that question. Could I do that? I figured out it's Exhibit 53.
Nope, you're too late. Just kidding. So prosecution just gets back up. They get to ask another question. They're going to show him his report to clarify the time that he arrived on scene, just by refreshing his memory. This was useful testimony. I know it was not for the truth of the matter asserted, but having the report from his wife saying this is what happened. Mr. Kelly went out and chased after them, grabbed his gun and chased after them. That's a big deal. That's a big difference. What reason would his wife have to lie at that point? Chased with dogs, and wait, there's going to be more. I told you that there's stuff coming in that will make the defendants look really, really bad, and we're going to get that.
Have you refreshed your recollection?
Yes.
So was it the time you were dispatched 2:40 or the time you arrived 2:40?
It was the time I was dispatched, the time that the radio call came through.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Yes.
That's all I had, Your Honor. Thank you.
Would you like this copy?
You guys have problems with putting back up your 114? Yeah. Do you mind putting up 114?
Lady Laura, I don't think he would have. It's very difficult to find a bullet after it's been fired, especially in the desert. They embed themselves in branches underground.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
You need a metal detector
Good
and a
morning.
lot of luck.
Good morning.
So you are the first law enforcement representative to arrive at this, I'm going to call it for short, the Vermilion Ranch, correct?
Yes.
And had you ever been there before?
Not at the ranch house itself, but I've worked that area before.
Okay. So knowing the area, how far is that location? Excuse me, got the hiccups. How far is that location to the border wall? If you were to go as a crow flies, what would you say it was?
About a mile.
A mile?
It's about a mile and a third.
And there's no
actually,
direct road to it, right? I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way to get there if you were in a vehicle, correct?
To get to the border?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. So roads aren't like a crow fly, but there's terrain in between that. Mr. Kelly's house and the
This is
first point of the
cross-examination.
border wall, correct?
Correct.
It is cross of the prosecution's witness.
Now, in this terrain, and it's hard to tell visually when you're not looking perpendicular to the ground, but from the aerial view, we have State's Exhibit 114 still up on the overhead. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, this area is encompassed with other ranches around it also, correct?
Correct.
So it's not an easy place to just stumble upon, is it?
No, it's not.
Now, you said you worked this area for quite a bit. Is that right?
That is correct.
And you actually expressed your knowledge about this terrain, not only possibly a little bit in your report, but also to Detective Einza, didn't you?
Correct.
So let's talk about this area as it relates to what Mr. Kelly believed is his knowledge as far as it's concerning mules and trafficking. What do you know about it and the dangers of this area?
Objection, improper request for opinion testimony from a lay witness.
Go ahead, sir.
It is what I'm giving you is my personal opinion about the area.
And your knowledge from experience, sir.
It's a dangerous area that we work.
Okay. Elaborate why you believe it's dangerous from your observations and your experiences.
For us, it's a...
Excuse me, can I just show an ongoing objection? Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
For us, it's dangerous because it seems that out there in the desert, everything's out to get you, from the vegetation to the heat, potential, bad individuals. That's what we consider a dangerous area.
So bad individuals, it's not a normal place for someone to go rob a bank, is it?
No.
Okay, so we got a different type of bad individuals. What's the activity that you would classify some examples that would fall under people that are these bad folks that you're describing?
We could potentially run into armed individuals, that are up to no good in that area.
So when someone's armed out there, it wouldn't surprise you if this family saw armed individuals, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what known activities or reasons do you believe, with your experience, would be going on if a person's sitting there armed, especially with long arms?
If there's an armed individual out there, either it could be a hunter or it could be a bad person, usually guarding the narcotic loads coming through the area.
Okay. So the fact that Mr. Kelly has lived out there for quite some time, that's what you learned, right?
Correct.
He was acknowledging with you that he was aware of the potential terrain and potential dangers of his property, right?
Well, he stated that he knew what the subjects that he had seen, he knew that they were mules because he could tell the difference.
And so over the years, there's been migrants, people, just trying to get over the border for the American dream, but there's been illegal activity in this area, and he felt his experience, did you interpret it this, that he felt that he knew the difference. This wasn't just people trying to run over the border.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
The question was how this witness interpreted what Mr. Kelly was telling him, so the objection's overruled.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, my interpretation, from what he said, he stated that he had seen mules, not illegal aliens.
And the fact that he's been there long enough and acknowledged that, you had no reason to disbelieve that he believed that to be happening, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because it was reasonable, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, again, calls for speculation.
It's what he feels, sir.
What was the objection? I'm sorry.
Speculation.
What was the question?
I asked if he believed it was reasonable. Asked for this witness belief.
Objection's overruled.
Judge is allowing
I believe it was reasonable.
Thank you, sir. Now, you knew you were there because shots were fired, right?
That's what the call came through, that shots were fired in the area.
So therefore, there had to be guns if that statement was true, correct?
Correct.
And the fact that you first interchanged with Miss Mrs. Kelly, or the gray-headed senior woman, confirmed independently, now that you're looking hindsight, confirmed that that call was potentially a legit call, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And she was a nice lady, wasn't she?
She was.
And you had no reason to believe that she was lying to you?
I did not.
Did you learn that she was only in the house?
I only saw her in the house. I didn't know who else was in the house.
So yeah, I didn't ask that, but did you learn that that's all she never came outside, that the whole time she's been in the house? Did you learn that?
No. My
Okay.
first initial encounter was her at the door.
Okay.
Front house.
But she greeted you at the door as you walked up. Did you knock, or was she peeking out the glass door?
No, she was already out when I got there, and I never made it to the front entrance. I never made it quite to the door of the house.
Okay. Now, they do have glass doors. Are you aware of that?
No.
Okay. And they have a lot of glass windows. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of it.
It's just what you know, sir. Just what you know. I'm just checking to see what you know.
Not aware.
Okay. Now, so she didn't make it clear where she saw these people running, correct?
She just stated at the south end of her property.
Okay. So you don't know whether with that comment, you don't know if she observed it from within her house or outside the house, right?
I have no idea to
Okay.
that. Yes.
Now, when things were over, the extreme situation was over, you made a note that Alan Kelly followed or ran after. What was the words that you used?
She stated that she pointed south, a gesture like I'm doing, stating that Mr. Allen had taken after the direction of the subjects walking.
Okay. Now, so he was walking, and you don't know if Mrs. Kelly, or the person that was in the home, and Mr. Kelly, which you later met, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You don't even know if they had any communications since this event took place.
No, I did not know that.
Okay. So if her version of it could be from what she observed, correct?
Correct.
That she knew he was walking in the direction south.
Correct.
With the two dogs.
She never stated anything about dogs.
Okay. You saw the dogs.
When I met with Mr. Kelly, yes, when I saw him first.
And those dogs followed him everywhere, didn't they?
Yes, they were following him.
But they're very curious dogs, aren't they?
They are. Friendly.
And they are they are almost true to their breed, but always looking around, smelling out everything, curious about the terrain as you all are walking, correct?
Yes, they were kind of like running circles around him, playfully.
But they were interested also in the terrain. Did you notice, almost like a hunting technique, they're smelling and observing everything on the ground and anything around them?
I did not notice that.
Okay. But inquisitive. They were curious about you.
Yes, they were.
And they approached you to see who you were.
They did.
Okay. And you didn't call?
No, I did not call them.
And how many dogs were there?
2 dogs.
Okay. Now, looking at this exhibit that's posted on there, redraw the line that you took once you left the house to go start to search around.
Once I left the initial house after we did the hasty perimeter check, is that what you mean?
You got back up. Went back to the house. So let's start with that perimeter check. And that's for your safety and the homeowner's safety, correct?
Correct.
All right. So put that circle around the house as you did before. Okay, now.
I'm thinking the
would it
camera
be that
position
wide of a, or
doesn't have a
closer
view
to the
of
home?
the TV. It's just too low.
I think that would be reasonable.
Okay, did you were aware of the barbed wire fencing that exists in the back of the house?
I believe I did see the barbed wire fence, but I'm not entirely aware of where it is because I've never been to that ranch house.
Okay.
I worked around the area of the ranch
And
house.
you didn't personally work the field that is behind the house that everyone else searched, correct?
No, Agent Paul Duggan and I, we kind of stayed around this area. We never went here or this area.
You drew some lines before, I'd like you to put them back on, of the search outward while you guys went the other way and ultimately met Mr. Kelly.
So as we were walking down towards Mr. Kelly, from my observations,
Why don't you use a different color on that one?
I will. Let me.
You can hit undo.
One of the jurors has asked for the enlarge the picture a little bit.
I have no objection.
There was a juror question.
Does that help?
To enlarge the picture. Megan, sorry you're having a rough week.
Let's undo your markings.
Will do.
Hope we can cheer you up a little bit.
All right. So let's start with the perimeter. We've cleared the board. Since we blew it up, it changes your markings. Now, ultimately, while this is blowing up, are you able to show where your car was parked at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you notice, there's also colors that you could change. Okay.
If you bring that house a little bit south, because the gate is way up the top, I think that's better.
Okay, just show that.
Okay, I'm going to show it in one color, and then I'll switch colors.
I could put up a map, but I don't know where he's drawing.
That's where my vehicle was parked.
Okay. The direction you took that ultimately you found Mr. Kelly would be the opposite way of the vehicle or the same direction?
Opposite way of the vehicle,
and
south.
If I could ask the state now to move the screen to just where that dot is at the top so we can go down. And we're still.
I'm going to clear the dot again.
Okay, all right. That's right there. Go ahead and put your dot on there. Thank you. All right. Now, you went down, you greeted Miss Kelly, you went back, you got some backup, and then you came back into the property, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, you had some lines. Well, first of all, the perimeter search of the house. Let's go ahead and draw that. You could use, let's just use one other color for the searches.
Thank you, Kathy. The fit of the uniform varies from agent to agent, I guess.
Kind of hasty perimeter check, approximate.
Okay. Now, earlier, when the state was asking you questions, you started to show which way you went, and we could keep that. And you were part of this circle, right? I mean, you were searching the perimeter too.
I never made it to the eastern side of the house. I kind of like stayed on this southwestern part of the house. I never went with the sheriffs all the way around.
Okay.
Just help this side of the house there.
All right. Let's take the direction that you think you were heading to get to the barn. We're going to look at the barn later, but set us off into a direction.
If I'm not mistaken, it was kind of like in this direction. That we bushwhacked.
Okay. And you described what bushwhack was. You're not following the roads. You're crossing the terrain.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, while you're heading that way, show me those lines that you had that showed other officers checking out in another direction in the field.
Okay. And just to know, these are approximate.
We get that.
Yes. Okay. That's approximately the way I saw the officers branching out.
And you're not reflecting these lines as the number of officers, right?
That is correct.
Do you even know how many were searching?
Approximately, from what I can remember, approximately 7, I would like to say.
All right, so there were quite a bit of officers.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you, just in between each of the lines, with the same magenta color, whatever that is, Just put some dots in between to reflect other people being there.
Thank you, Evangeline. Wonderful words. That's very kind.
Other officers. And were they a combination of Border Patrol and Sheriff's Department?
No, just Sheriff's Department. The only Border Patrol agents at that time was Agent Paul Duggan and myself.
Okay. So the two of you are gone to look for the homeowner?
Correct.
Okay. So with a yellow, different color, yellow would be great. There is an arroyo out here, and you had to cross through it if you bushwhacked this direction, correct?
Yes.
Did you follow it, or did you just cut through it?
Cut through it.
Okay, so why don't you just kind of, like as if it was a highlighter, give us an idea of where this arroyo encompasses this side of the house.
The arroyo should be a little bit south, south of like at the end of that white line. That's where the arroyo should be.
So further down?
Further down, correct.
I'm thinking that the Border Patrol agents seem to be more favorable of the ranchers, or more on his side than the police. Almost like they're divided in their personal standing about the issue. Are you guys getting that feel?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, please don't do that
If
again.
we could just zoom out just to drop, or move the map up just to drop, please. Stay.
I'm sorry.
Can you move it now up just to drop? No, can't do that. Can you, if you zoom out, would it change your lines?
That could be why
Do you see
the
an
defendant
arroyo
asked for Border Patrol to show up instead of
in this
police.
photo right here?
Yes, I see the arroyo at the southern end of the white line.
Okay, so I know we came off our drawing, but if you could just take a yellow and try to show where that is.
I'm gonna put a circle around.
Well, try to follow it a little bit, and maybe a circle at the other end that you think which direction it goes in.
That's the arroyo, and the arroyo runs kind of like this way.
Okay, and it continues up through the right side of the map, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And arroyo is a ditch, a ravine, correct?
Arroyo is the Mexican word for wash.
Okay. Commonly formed through waterways, right?
Correct.
And commonly maintaining different elevation than ground level.
Yes.
Because of erosion.
By
correct?
definition, yes.
And most commonly, and specifically here, if this ditch or wash is lower than the ground level that the house is sitting on, correct?
It is.
Yes. And its deepness depends on where you are in the arroyo, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we got lower elevation running up, and you can see this. And then if we could now go to the next slide that you'll use, which I think was 115, please, Kim. Thank you.
Well, you can use these.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like me to clear the lines on my end?
Yes, please. Now, let's put a small circle around the house. And if you were to follow the yellow brick road, because it is kind of yellow, that is a pathway or
Wizard
a
of Oz
place where
reference.
one could walk on, and ultimately it takes you to a building, correct?
That is correct.
And did you have a chance to observe this as Mr. Kelly's barn?
Yes, when we were up top, when we went to Mr. Kelly, you could overlook that.
Because you're at
that
a high,
warehouse.
I apologize.
Yes.
you are at a higher elevation where you greeted Mr. Kelly, correct?
That is correct.
But if you followed that road down with your eyes, you would see the barn and the pump house, correct?
Yes, the pump house is up top, and the barn or the steel warehouse should be down there.
Okay, if you could circle that, please. Both of them. Yes, thank you.
That is the pump house,
Yes, sir.
and that is the steel building, the barn.
Okay. So the fact is, when you came together with Mr. Kelly, put a little X with a different color where you observe, approximately, where you observe Mr. Kelly with his two dogs.
Of all the days to be able to see the screen, this would probably be one
real close to
put
his
right up
pump.
there on the top.
Real close to the pump house, correct.
Wish we could see this.
And you don't know where he was coming from. Was he approaching you though?
He was walking in the direction we came up, yes, on the road.
So far as you know, he could have been checking on his barn to make sure everything was safe.
Correct.
Okay. And did he reflect that?
No, he never stated he was checking on his farm.
Okay, but you didn't ask, correct?
No, I did not ask.
All right. And people you encounter are only as good as to the questions you might ask, correct? As far as gathering information.
Yes.
You've been trained to ask good questions, to try to learn facts.
Correct.
And so if you don't ask him a question, he may not know to give you an answer, right?
Correct.
It's fair. Now, I mean, you are the trained one, and I would assume that victims, as Mr. Kelly was that day, are not necessarily victims every day to know what you might be looking for, right?
Right.
Now, just to give you some information, I know you were doing your best to reflect how he was holding this gun, and I get the cradling. But
Lazy
did you know
cameraman.
Mr. Kelly is left-handed, and that rifle might have been flip-flop from the direction that you said?
I had no idea.
Okay,
He's
but you
left-handed.
just saw the cradling.
Correct.
Okay, and you don't know, and you know the barrel is pointing up in the sky.
Yes.
Okay, whether it's this way to the left or this way to the right, I'm using my hands, and that's for the court reporter. The point was, he was holding it in a very safety-minded way, correct?
That is correct. Kind of like hunters do.
Right, and a good hunter doesn't point, or anyone that uses a gun will never just swing their barrels around and point it at people, correct?
Unless they're
Oh, no,
filming.
otherwise, we would have had a problem.
Yes, you would have been threatened, felt threatened, and acted accordingly, correct?
Yes.
You did not feel threatened?
No.
Okay. So it was a very respectful carry on his own property, correct?
Yes.
Anything illegal about that?
No.
Okay. This property is outside the city limits, I would assume. Sheriffs responded,
Yes.
correct? All right. We do have a Nogales Police Department, correct?
We do have a Nogales Police Department.
Yeah, and they did not come to the scene at all, correct?
They weren't there when I was there.
Okay, so it's probably a jurisdiction thing, correct?
Correct.
And so sheriffs usually cover the county, the outside areas. Is that fair to say?
That is
Your
fair to
knowledge?
say.
Okay. So he's walking up calmer now that everything seems safe, that he sees law enforcement. Is that possible?
That is possible.
Okay. Because I would feel safer if you were next to me. You look like you could protect me. Is that reasonable?
That is reasonable.
Okay. And there's two of you now. He now knows law enforcement is at his home, his homestead, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. In the border, this is the south direction. The house to the barn is in a southern direction.
More or less, yes, general southern direction.
Not perfect, right?
Not perfect.
And then to the right and to the right south, you could glance down yonder, so to speak, and see the border wall, correct?
Correct.
It would be off to the distance though, right?
Yes, correct.
A good ways away, but you could see it.
Correct.
Now, when you were going back to why people in this area, potentially illegal immigrants that are crossing through his property or anyone else's property, would likely to have guns. They're guarding. What are they guarding from? What are the different things?
They could be guarding, if they're carrying narcotics, they could be guarding the narcotics.
From Border Patrol?
No.
From whom?
From, we call them rib crews. Rib crews are people that steal the narcotics from other mules.
Okay, so this does exist.
It does exist.
Right. Now, would someone carrying illegal, and this is with your personal knowledge, sir, okay, and your training, would someone that's illegally carrying a narcotic, smuggling a narcotic, like, would they try to hide as they're crossing the border to get to a location?
Yes.
I mean, they're not going to say, here I am, right?
Of course not.
It's an illegal activity. You're being discreet.
Correct.
Why would someone like that have a walkie-talkie on them?
I imagine so they could coordinate, picking up other drugs or the routes they're taking.
Okay. So not only to find the person they're distributing to, potentially, but also could there be others watching out for any border patrol?
Yes.
And although you all have cameras as a group, correct?
Correct.
Surveillance cameras I'm referring to out there. They're not a perfect system, are they?
Nothing's a perfect system.
And it's hard to track people going through these auroras, right?
There are arroyos. It would be hard, yes.
Okay,
It's
because
like you
they're
keep saying
lower.
it wrong.
Correct.
And the cameras,
There are
I would
arroyos.
imagine have you ever seen the camera system?
I've seen camera systems.
Okay, and do they have the ability to zoom around and look around?
I can't discuss operational.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not that interested.
That was I'm not allowed to,
Were
that's above
you
my pay
at
grade.
the scene when there was another call later on in the afternoon?
Was I at
Yeah. Did
Mr.
you-
Kelly's? No, I was not.
Okay, so this is the only incident that you went to.
That is correct.
Are you familiar with the word Duquesne Road?
Yes, I am.
And is it a common area for drug pickups?
We've had some drug pickups there in that area, yes.
Okay, why else do you know about that location?
I patrolled that area in the past.
Is Washington, the word Washington was used in this hearing, is it related to that area at all?
Yeah, Mount Washington is a big mountain east of Duquesne Road.
Okay, and if a person was in that area carrying backpacks and long arms and stuff like that, would that be suspicious to you?
Yes, it would.
You said there's a mountain there. Is that something that allows people, does that allow people to help look out the terrain around it?
Yes.
And so walkie-talkie communication could be done that way too, correct?
Correct.
And would it be common for anyone that might be doing this type of activity to have binoculars on?
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. And I'd like to show you.
She's going to show the picture of the
We'll let her get it up a second here. I'll move on
The
with another
deceased.
question.
Where he's
Just
wearing
how
binoculars.
far, do you have any idea how far Duquesne Road or Mount Washington or that area would be to Mr. Kelly's house?
I want to say anywhere from 3 to 4 miles.
Okay. So with time, it's walkable. Someone could walk that distance.
Yes.
Okay.
Would you like to clear the circles?
Just hold on. At this time, I'd like to republish what's already marked in evidence JJ, defense JJ. For all to see. And we will, you can get rid of those lines.
Well, not all to see. For some to see, I think you should say.
I'm sorry.
You're doing good. Okay. This is a photo that's already been admitted into evidence, and we're not asking you anything specific about the person. My questions are reflected upon the clothing, okay? And there is a walkie-talkie on the right hip there, a pair of binoculars and a fanny pack and camouflage coloring of clothing. Would this be, could this be run along the theory that this person could be someone that might be either a scout or trafficking drugs? Would this appearance surprise you?
Being honest and looking at the photo, to me it could be a scout, or to me it could be a hunter.
Okay. Now, of course, you don't see a rifle. You don't see any guns in this photo. And you don't know when this took place, this photo. But the camouflage and if this person was on private property, would that be an appropriate place to hunt?
It would not be an appropriate place to hunt.
Okay. And does a person like this that may be set out, I don't know, let's say out in the terrain, way far out there, would a person wearing these type of clothes blend into the terrain?
He could blend into the terrain, yes.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if you're in front of someone, you're going to see it, right?
Correct.
But what if they were more than a half a mile out? Would it be harder to tell this person's there?
That is correct.
And that makes your job harder also, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just a minute, Your Honor.
I feel like they found somebody who could cough constantly through trial, and they just gave them a mic. Said, just cough into this, please.
What was the lady in the house's demeanor?
What was that? What in the world did I just?
The lady was calm as well, not agitated. She appeared to be safe. She didn't look hurt or injured.
Did she seem concerned?
I would call it a little concern, yes, especially pointing a direction where her husband had taken off to.
And you got information somewhere in this case where you and did this come from Mr. Kelly, that he heard a shot after he saw them?
Yes.
So we knew there was gunfire, correct?
I never heard the gunfire, but that's what the call came as, and that's what Mr. Kelly stated.
Okay. So we knew, based on your information, there was a gunshot based on the facts.
Based on what they told me,
Right.
I assumed there had been.
I get it. You're not an eyewitness.
Correct.
Right? Okay. You're a responder. I get
Correct.
that.
Mhm.
But taking the facts that someone called in, there were shots, and confirmed by two different people, there's no reason to doubt it, was there?
No.
So we have one shot, because he said he heard a shot, right?
That is correct.
So a shot usually reflects singular, correct?
Single gunshot.
Not a few, not a lot, but heard, or shots, plural, but a shot, correct?
A shot, correct. A gunshot.
And were you aware there was one shot in the victim's body that was found later? Did you learn that?
I do not know anything about it.
I asked if you learned it.
I'm not aware. I haven't learned anything.
Okay, thank you.
He doesn't know anything about this case. Interesting.
So when you said that he never said he discharged, did you ask him?
No, I didn't ask.
When you talked about was shot at versus didn't know where the shot was, it was close enough for them to be real, correct?
Correct. If they're stating they heard it, yeah, it must have been close.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a shot off the distance. We don't call about that, right? We don't know if it's hunting or other things, right?
That is correct.
Could be a rancher that saw a rattlesnake 2 miles away and you hear that echo. That's not concerning, is it?
It could be, or it could be not. It depends.
Yeah, not out in the ranches though, right? I mean, it's not like it's a residential suburbia area.
Again, like I can't, it'll be speculating to that, but yeah, could be good or it could be bad.
Houses are nowhere near, they're not butting up to this property or this home, is it?
No.
There's a lot of land all around here, right?
Yeah, yes.
And are you aware that Mr. Kelly owns over 100 acres?
No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. But if you look around, it's hard to see. You can't even see houses, really, for that matter, can you?
Not really.
Okay. But whatever the shot was concerning, and seeing people running by with backpacks and rifles means it had to be visual. It had to be close enough to see it, right?
Correct.
I object.
And he did. The answer was right, correct?
Correct.
Okay. If people were out in the terrain mile away, wearing the type of clothing you just saw in the photo, that would be very difficult in this terrain to see, wouldn't it be?
Correct.
But if something's real close, that you can get a feel that 5 to 7 people or whatever amount of people running by, that means these people had to be close enough to observe, correct?
Correct.
And depending where the homeowners were, that would be able to be considered on what distance from that location they were, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because you don't know if they were in the house or outside yet. You don't have that info.
I do not.
Okay. So people that appear to be illegals from their attire, some running and shooting on their property, and trespassing are all crimes, correct?
Yes.
And doesn't that make Mr. Kelly and his wife potentially a victim?
Potentially, yes.
Council, I think it's a good time to take our mid-morning recess. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a 30-minute recess. It's 20 to 10. We'll be back in court. Please be in the jury room ready to go at 10 after 10 on recess.
All right. 10 after 10. Let me turn this down in case it sends bars and tone. It's just going to be bars. We do have a new cameraman today, and apparently the cameraman. First of all, the tripod they brought is very small. It's very short, so the camera height is about shoulder height for the individuals who are sitting at the defense table, and they're sort of diagonally back and to the right of the defense table. That puts the individuals at the defense table right in line and in the way between the camera and the screen, which we normally would be able to see. So I think the cameraman, it's poor placement of the camera, first of all. The tripod needs to be taller than what it is. It needs to be elevated up, jack up the legs, whatever. I think what we have is a lazy cameraman who's literally seated in a chair and reaches over and adjusts the camera as needed. Not a big fan. You're not earning your pay like that. So I've stood for hours and hours at a time to film. Anyway, so frustrating that we're missing out on some of the details. That way, we might be able to pick them up on the YouTube live stream of the Zoom of court once it's posted tomorrow. But I'm not a camel. All right, let's see. I'm working on a new thumbnail. Can you see this? I'm working on a thumbnail. The one I had was pretty lame. I didn't put much effort into it. I apologize. I'm going to do a little better job on this one. Obviously, we want to be respectful of the situation, the individuals that are at play here. There was someone who lost their life, but we're going to start putting a few things on the thumbnail that might be pertinent to this. You do spy. I'm not going to release it to all of y'all. Unfortunately, we had some people who sort of ruined that for everybody, but we'll make something here. We'll make something work. I think we're going to have a sign there. Barbed wire fence stretched between two cactuses. We need a rocking chair. Rocking chair is for the defense lawyer who rocks like crazy during testimony. It's going to be sort of like an I Spy image when we're done. Probably not so much like a lay of the land as we're rebuilding the scene, because I don't think we can do that respectfully and still have a little fun with it. So it's going to be more just like fun things that are included in court. I pointed out a little bit earlier. Steven says, "I can help. I can help." I'll be waiting my thumbnail access. Here's what we'll do. I might take some suggestions. What can I share without? I can make a public view link. That way you guys can't change it, but you can see it as we're building it and maybe make some suggestions. Let's do that. Okay, so I think that's, sure that's the right one? Public view link. Only you can access. Public view link live. Copy. Okay, here we go. We're going to give it a try so you guys can at least view it. There we go. So there's the link to the Canva that I'm building. It's got a ways to go. It's just barely getting started, but we'll work on it. Does it allow you guys to make comments if you have a public view, like suggestions? I've got to think about this. Yellow stress starball. Okay, maybe there's got to be a better way to do this because I can't get all these at once. Add comment. You guys can't add comments to it, can you? No chat bubble. Bummer. Okay. Lots of things that we need to put on there. Let me bring this up first. That one thing that stood out to me, and you guys, it seemed to resonate with you as well. There's a line. There's a dividing line. When you think law enforcement, not all law enforcement is the same. And oftentimes in a city, you have two different law enforcement agencies that cover a specific area. Generally, it's going to be a sheriff, which is county, and a police department, which is generally city. There are some jurisdictions that handle. I mean, some school districts have their own police department, and there's some variations amongst that. And there's some state things as well. But those two, the city and the police and the sheriff, sort of overlap in most jurisdictions. And oftentimes you will find that the attitude toward residents and what the residents are supported in doing or they're discouraged from doing differs between the two groups. So as typically you will see police agencies who are more prone to sign up or to sponsor or to participate in things that may be more restrictive of certain rights, especially when it comes to guns. And on the sheriff's side, you find that they're generally a little more on the supporting side of the right for different residents to keep or bear arms. And I'm not trying to make this political, but I think what we have here, also we've got somebody calling in. What we have here is the Border Patrol seems to be more on the ranchers' side of preparing. Not preparing, more on the rancher side of supporting them in defending their property, whereas the police side would be more on the side of protecting everybody from one rancher going rogue and becoming a vigilante. Does that make sense? I'm trying not to get too much into the political side of this, but we're seeing some of these elements play out in the testimony from the Border Patrol, where the Border Patrol agents are more on his side. Thank you. Another invisible drink. They're more on the rancher's side. They're more on Mr. Kelly's side. And we see from him that when he calls the police or when he interacts with law enforcement, he says, "Don't send the police, send the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol will back me up on this, whereas the police might give me some pushback." So that might develop a little bit more through the course of this trial. So just watch for that. A little testimony about the camo, the binoculars, and the radio being something that most the defense said would either be something that either a hunter or a scout might carry. Most of my people at Walmart are working for the cartel, except the binoculars. The binoculars are sort of rare at Walmart, but part of the reason you find that with the sheriff and the police being a little bit different for those that are not from this area. Generally, a sheriff for a county is an elected position, meaning that he is responsive to the people because the people put him and keep him in his position. Whereas a police chief is someone who is appointed to the position, usually from like a city council or some sort of board, a governmental board. And so police don't have to. They're not up for re-election. You don't vote your police chief out. Whereas the sheriff, if you don't like what's happening, you do vote the sheriff out and you get a new one. So that's why these games are played. And it seems weird that in this case, you don't vote out Border Patrol. They literally are, federal, right? And you don't vote out the Border Patrol, but the Border Patrol seems to be more in line with what you would expect from a sheriff than from what you would expect from a police department. Sheriffs are elected. Yep. Yes. You're like, you could just vote somebody to be law enforcement. It's crazy. Yes, it does seem strange, but they also will. They're usually requirements as well. So if somebody gets voted in to be sheriff, and sometimes you see news stories where some 18-year-old kid wins the election for sheriff, and they say, okay, you win, but within this amount of time before you can take office and receive the authority, you have to complete XYZ trainings and everything. So it's funny. Same for a judge. Judges are judges are a little different. Judges get nominated in and then voted to be retained. So the governor may put a judge on the bench, through an approval through the legislative branch, but then you vote every X number of years to keep that judge or replace them. So out of chat here, who wants to be sheriff for the day? Go ahead and make your pitch in chat. We might vote for you. Hey, son, how are you doing?
Why did you hide the cookie two-step ice cream?
Because it's my ice cream. He's asking why I hid the ice cream. It's my lunch. I have Mountain Dew for breakfast and ice cream for lunch. Yeah, it's a good deal. Adam says, I can throw a fastball and a curveball. These are two things you definitely want in a sheriff for sure. Red pen for sheriff. At least everything will be spelled properly and grammatically correct. Can felons be sheriffs? Asking for a friend. Generally, no. But you might be able to get your record expunged and then be able to do it. Yeah, but let's talk more pickles and less politics. We're trying, but there are a couple issues I wanted to explain a tiny bit. Second in chat is automatically elected sheriff of the internet. Petrified, were you second in chat today? Is that why you're saying that? Lovely Beth. Yes, I probably, last time I got ice cream, my kids ate all of it and I got zero. I got none. Last time I got ice cream. And so now I've had to hide it, which you can't really hide ice cream very well because where's it going to be? It's going to be in the freezer somewhere, right? So you try to hide it behind the Brussels sprouts and underneath the split peas and everything else that your kids will never touch and hope that they just don't see that it's back there. Mountain Dew over ice cream for Mountain Dew float. I've got Bluebell ice cream cookie two-step, which is my new favorite flavor. Man, I love it. It is delicious. All right. This is a political hot button. Chris, I appreciate everyone in chat being so respectful. I realize there are positions on here that this could blow up into a firestorm of comments back and forth politically one way or another. Thanks for staying focused on the case. Thanks for looking at this and just looking at the evidence of what's happened here. I appreciate everyone doing that and being respectful, even when there are differences of opinion. Everyone left in chat has been respectful. We did time a few people out, and sometimes when the case gets a little spicy, I don't know what happens. The algorithm, as more people stay a little bit longer, it seems to draw more people in, and we get some new people in here. If somebody does come in and starts, throwing things around that aren't really doesn't really fit with our vibe with what we do here, don't call them out on it. It makes it harder for the mods to actually find the comments. Just let the mods handle it. And if you see somebody who's just really offensive and maybe you think the mods haven't handled it, the best thing you might want to do is just right-click on their name, click on the three dots over on the side of the screen and block them so you never see their comments. Because there are some comments that the people don't appreciate that may not be over the threshold of what's acceptable in chat. And that might be the best thing so you can keep enjoying chat. All right. Let's see, my milestone was missed. I have to go back and look. Hang on, Kikidi, just 1 second. We have a couple things that happened that I missed. Kikidi, here since Daryl Brooks. Y'all are amazing, RA and mods. I love that you're all the extra push to motivate my day, being able to hang out while I lurk. Kikidi, thank you. 9 months as well. Congratulations on that. That is awesome. Cheryl Bybee came in, member of the gallery again with that yellow courthouse. Thank you for your support. At least 6 months there. BG, member for 5 months. Much a lurker longer. You've been a lurker longer, but officially a member for 5 months. Charlie Raven, also a member for 5 months. Been around since Cavalcante, but I guess official for 5 months. Confessed law nerd. Much love. This morning started out with I think it's 2 separate gifts of 5 memberships each from Red Pen. Thank you, Red Pen, for your generosity. Let's see. Charlie, we got yours, your 5 month. We got BG for 5 months. Cheryl Bybee for 6 months. Kathy Ashby, Cuen Ashby. I liked the last Border Patrol agent's uniform shirt much better. He wore the size small, and he was not a small size. He was fit. Man, he was fit. I was jealous. Evangeline Light. So glad I found RA the man and this wonderful group of trial enthusiasts. Y'all are the best. Thank you, Evangeline Light. John Stupple, welcome to the gallery. Thank you, my friend. Yellow Courthouse as well. Bella, a member for 14 months. One of the OGs says, greetings, everyone. Scott, Recovery Addict. Have not been able to join in chat for long. Hope you're all are doing well. When is Sarah Boone trial? Sarah Boone's trial, I can tell you. Here's the schedule. She is coming up, let's see, 5/13. 5/13 is, I think, the next, I think that's the trial date. There are some hearings before then, like 4/16 or something. There's a couple preliminaries before that, but 5/16 I think is trial. Let's see. I hope that answers your question, Bella. Okay. Chris Wallace, I'm almost at 9 months. Almost there. Wonderful, Chris. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Back to the regular chat here. Okay. Who was covering the Daybell trial? I wish it was you, Ari. I don't know if Brandy is. The Daybell trial is going to be interesting. I can tell you a lot of people will be covering it because it's just the availability is really high on that. But everyone's going to have the same thing. So you're going to have a million different options. I believe didn't Brandy cover Lori Daybell? If she did, I think she might cover this one. But then at the same time, the two are going to overlap with what? Corey Richins. There's so many trials to choose from. It's going to be interesting. He was so fit, his clothes didn't. Yes, that Border Patrol agent was. He works out. He worked in that. He works out. That was fun. All right, let's see. Ooh, wow. Mama Smith gifted a membership. Thank you very much, Mama Smith. And then Bug Dugger gifted 5 memberships as well. Thank you very much for your generosity this morning. Petrified, you won a gifted membership from Mama Smith. From Bug Dugger, we had Joseph Blossy, GG4, Casey Smith, Efried Rosler, and Janice Arroyo. All right. Anyone know what happened to that crazy big family case where the deceased daughter was found from Judge Wolf? That's the DNA case. I have not heard. That might have sort of just flown under the radar because the resolution could have happened outside of court and sort of things sort of dismissed and went away. I just have not heard what happened. Let's see. Casella and Ikadmel might also cover Daybell. Brandy's going to cover Daybell. I look like a Miami crime boss. Well, that's the look I was going for, Ivan. Do you know when the OnlyFans trial is? That's Courtney Clenny. Oh, man, what happened? See, Courtney Clenny, that trial's had some additional charges. I think the parents were involved or sort of wrapped into that for something about the evidence or a laptop or something. So I don't know if that's postponed that at all. I don't have a date for that. I might need to dig into that. Forgetting the trial of the century, Karen Reed. Angela, Karen Reed is the crazy trial of the century. Brandy is all over that. Brandy has a podcast that specifically focuses on this. So you can listen to episode after episode of this developments on the Karen Reed trial. It's awesome. She's done an amazing job. So I highly recommend that. Jay's going to cover Daybell as well. So you'll have your mix, your full flavor. Are we going to do the Corey Richards trial? Yes, we are. Okay. Can a mod time out another mod? I think so. Hey, hello, wife. Mrs. R.A., how are you doing? That's Homeschool Ground Zero. Let's see. I think I've timed out other mods. I think I timed out Thomas one time, just as a joke. All right. Let's see. Guessing Sarah Boone will end up repping herself. She's got a lawyer now that she has not written a letter about. This is the first time she's had a lawyer with no letter. But now we're going to the Corey Richards trial. That's the hope. Corey Richards, where we are on Corey Richards is 5/15. There's a preliminary trial date, which means that the actual trial could start right after that, meaning within a couple weeks, but it could also be put out a couple months. So, especially with considering the fact that they just added a whole heap of charges to her case. Not sure. We're getting pounded with rain, Melody. All day long it's raining here. Do you think the feds will swoop in and stop Karen Reed trial? Yes, I do. I think it's going to get to the point where the feds are going to say, look, there's too much smoke here. There's got to be a fire, and we need to shut this down. Is the whole family going with you to Park City? We hope so, Tammy. We hope to actually take our family. It's the first time we would have been back to that area in years and years. Park City is beautiful. It's where the Olympics were held back in 2002. Beautiful mountain community. Very expensive to buy a house there. It's like, think of like Vail, Colorado. It's sort of, on par with that. It's a ski town. It used to be an old silver mining town, and it used to be like dirt cheap. And now it's, you have to have wealthy parents who gifted you their entire, life earnings to be able to afford there. Finding out about vacations in chat is wild. Yeah, I haven't, Mrs. R.A., I haven't kept her up to speed. She does a billion things. Mrs. R.A., do you want to just briefly, either in chat or come in here and talk and explain, just like, for instance, how many books you're reading right now, what your schedule is? She is a voracious reader. 15th. Good thing nothing important is happening around then. Yeah. Hey, Mrs. R.A. How you doing? You want to talk? Do you want headphones? Do you want to be able to hear? Okay, let me plug them in.
So it would be awesome if I was in the other room studying something, but I'm not because I recently drove the vehicle that our oldest son, who's living at home right now, drives as a regular thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this thing's a piece of garbage. We need to sell this car. This is the car that we bought like off the plane. When we flew in to North Carolina, we drove directly, like we got a rental car and we went directly from the airport to the car dealership, and we bought the car right then. And I never intended to keep the car this long. It was just supposed to be something that we had for a couple of years before we got established and figured out how to buy good cars around here and got a better car. We've kept it for a long time due to all the crazy changes in our lives and the lack of employment and everything. And just driving it, I thought, it's done. This car is done. We need to sell it. But it's really, really hard to buy cars around here. I do not love working with dealerships and finding somebody who's selling a car just as an individual who's not slimy is really tough. And so instead of studying anything that will improve my brain, all I have done this morning is look at all the slimy people selling cars. And I'm like, this is so depressing. This is no good at all.
Okay, the people are not slimy. It's just some of the cars are just... Some of the people are slimy. We don't buy new cars. No. That's something we could probably explain. We have never in our life bought a car that was not pre-owned. So I think one time we got a car that was under 50,000 miles. Do you remember that?
Yeah, then our son wrecked it.
Then my son wrecked it. So we're like, we learned our lesson. Never buy a new car. So car sales are a battle of how much slime you can deal with. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
This is where I'm finding out our life plans, apparently. Are we going to be in Utah in May 15th? Is that the current plan?
I don't know. I don't know when the case is going to happen. All we know is that on the 15th, they have a preliminary trial date, and they may or may not set the real trial date at that time. On the 15th of May. January, February, March, April, May. That's 5, right?
Yeah, that's 5.
Okay.
Yeah, what else is happening on the 15th of May?
What else is happening on the 15th of May? Is there like an anniversary I should be remembering? Okay. I might have an anniversary around that time period. So what a great time to bail on the family and go across the country, right? Yeah. Oh, man. We'll see. Anyway, we... Yes, Amber's like, I called it. I knew it. Yeah, there's a date right around there that's highly significant in our lives. So I'll do my best not to forget. All right. Are you too loud in that?
You're too loud.
How about this? Yeah, is that better? Okay. Plead the 5th, says GG4. Boone is on the 13th. Sarah Boone is on the 13th.
Of May?
Yeah. Happy anniversary.
But that's the thing.
Sarah Boone's going to court. That's my gift to you.
That's what I've always wanted.
Oh man, it's good fun. Anyway, we're there's a lot coming up in court. There's so many cases this summer. It's just gonna be absolutely crazy and bizarre. We're trying to do some new things as well as the summer kicks off. We're looking at getting access to courts and possibly multiple courts at the same time, where we might have feeds available on the Top Mark Media channel, and then other feeds that we're covering and actually commentating on here live on this channel. So we're trying to expand that a little bit to give you options, because a lot of people want to see cases and watch it with the same sort of community that we have here. But anyway, that's what we're doing. Can we see the wedding pictures? Nope. I'll tell you, I learned my... Can I share this?
Yes.
Okay. You're never supposed to outdress the bride in a wedding.
I'm just going to put it out here so that he doesn't get a lot of hate. He wore the dress best. That was not cool of him, but that's what happened.
I wore my kilt. For the wedding. It's a nice kilt. Yeah, what do you wear underneath? Funny you should ask. Socks and shoes. Socks and shoes. No, I wore the kilt, and that was the wrong thing to do. Just for those that have a wedding coming up, let the dress be the star. The dress was beautiful. That's all I was looking at. But Mrs. R.A. was not happy with people coming through the line commenting on my kilt.
No. That makes me sound like a jerk. No, I thought it was cool that people commented on his kilt, but I've just never been one to care really much what I looked like. And I thought, well, this is the day. This is the one day I'm beautiful. I was like, oh, no, not as beautiful as Scott.
I got to show off my calves. It was impressive. Was it a tilted kilt? No. Anyway, it's like a professional kilt. We got it from Edinburgh in Scotland. Had to smuggle in the sporin. Anyway.
Call from Nosy Rosie.
Hey, Nosy Rosie, you've got one more call left today. What's on your mind?
I'm looking for Mrs. R.A.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello. So, Mr. R.A. disclosed a really cute birthday story the other day. I don't know if you heard about it.
I didn't.
But we all did.
What is it?
Oh, about the time that he bought himself a push gift when he bought himself a pew-pew when you were having that baby.
Oh, not once. How many kids do we have? 6 times. I'm stuck in the hospital and he comes back. He's like, look what I got for you. I'm like, you got me a gun? Thank you, honey. Did he just mute me?
Court's back, Nosy Rosie. I need to go. Court's back.
Okay, bye.
Okay, we'll see you. Bye. I'm in trouble. Okay, where are we? We're hoping for some audio here. I don't have audio yet. We're a little tilted. Love you. Have a good day. Saved by the judge. We're tilted. We can't hear a dang thing.
In that witnesses' field of expertise, and they also state reasons for those opinions. So, you hear expert witness, right? You're thinking some guy with a PhD in front of his name. It could be, but you don't need a PhD in front of your name to be an expert witness. If you have education or experience sufficient to be able to state an opinion with some expertise on an issue, then you can be an expert witness. Just by way of an example, there's actually cases reported with things like, some 10-year-old kid being brought into court and testifying as a witness on butterflies in the area. Well, how is that possible? He's a 10-year-old kid.
Bingo.
This kid had an amazing butterfly collection. That's all he did. He was just obsessed with butterflies. He had a butterfly collection. There was an issue in the case about butterflies in the area for whatever reason. He was qualified as an expert. There was no greater expert about butterflies in this particular area than this kid. 10-year-old, no PhD, but not by education, maybe somewhat by education, but by experience, he was an expert. So then going back to the instruction, it finishes as follows, and this is important also. But expert opinion testimony should be judged just as any other testimony. You are not bound by it. You may accept it or reject it in whole or in part, and you should give it as much credibility and weight as you think it deserves, considering the witnesses' qualifications and experience, the reasons given for the opinions, and all the other evidence in the case. All right? So that was one of your preliminary instructions. And again, you'll get a set of final instructions that will include an instruction about this as well. But I just thought I'd refresh your recollections about that now. This is no comment by me about this witness's testimony or any other witness's testimony that's given an opinion. Right? I express no opinion about that. I just thought it was an appropriate time to remind you of that particular instruction. Thank you. All right. Ms. Lothar,
I'd just like to take this moment to tell you about butterflies, says the judge.
Let's go back to a couple points that were discussed and get a little more clarity. The first one, you talked about his demeanor about being calm at the time you met up with Mr. Kelly, correct?
Correct.
So knowing the incident, the call, and the fact that he mentioned shots were fired, it seems that as a judge of you're a police officer, have to observe things, correct?
I'm a border patrol agent, correct. I have to observe things.
And I didn't mean to insult you.
Our photographer is a news
enforcement.
photographer.
In law enforcement, you are a law enforcement officer, right?
Correct.
You have a specialty area of the field. But as a law enforcement officer, it's important to observe people, body language, other things that's going around you, correct?
Correct.
So going back to the compound question, I apologize for that.
Going back to the terrible question.
Knowing the things you learned on the call, the follow-up that you got from Ms. Kelly and Mr. Kelly, or whoever the white-haired lady was, the fact that he appeared calm now takes some urgency that the threat might have subsided to some degree?
Correct.
Okay. That would be your interpretation, right?
Correct.
The fact that the gun was lowered, not raised up in any kind of assaultive handling of the rifle, also shows his relaxed state of mind.
Correct.
And, I mean, he wasn't being nervous.
Can I correct myself about the state of mind? I wouldn't know anything about the state of mind, but his demeanor seemed to appeared relaxed to me.
Okay. And we could use the word demeanor. His demeanor did not seem nervous at this time.
It did not.
Like if he shot someone and was scared about it, you would expect someone to be nervous, right?
In my opinion, I would expect somebody to be nervous, shaken up, visibly upset.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned those officers, a good handful of officers. I don't think you counted them, but you reflected it being how many, around 7, 8?
Approximately 7.
Okay. And we won't hold you exactly because I don't think you were necessarily responsible for that area of the search, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, but you observed quite a few, a good handful or more, of law enforcement, which you believe were sheriffs, correct?
Correct.
Combing out a area or a field that we saw you draw lines out, correct?
Correct.
And they were spread out like a search should be conducted, right?
Correct.
And you learned how to do those kind of searches, right?
Correct.
And so you spread out so many feet apart, that way, and you proceed forward, so that way you could all cover as much area, but be as thorough as possible, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever learn later that that area that the search you observed was the same area that a body was found?
I learned that a body was found. I do not know the exact location, how he was found, or whom found it.
So you never heard it was the same area that law enforcement combed over? You never heard that?
Well, it was a general area, but yeah, that's what I heard, general area.
I know that even though you didn't respond later, a lot of times there's a lot of communications because you were involved in this case. You had a part of this case, correct?
Correct.
Now, there was mention of running these subjects, running by or with backpacks and long arms, right?
Correct.
So I know you don't know exactly where everyone is when they observed it, and I heard that. But if these subjects were running, something was causing them to run, most likely, correct?
Most likely, yes.
I mean, unless you just like to run with all that heavy equipment, guns, things that might have been on the person, running away from something is not uncommon, correct?
Can you rephrase that question here, please?
It's very well likely that this group that was running could have been running away from something.
That is correct.
I will pass the witness.
He representation.
Thank you, Your Honor. So let's start back to the area that y'all searched. Now, you talked about doing originally doing just a little perimeter search, is that right?
That is correct.
And then after that perimeter search, all split up, correct?
Correct. We all fanned out in different directions.
And you all headed south, is that right?
Correct.
And when you headed south, were you observing where the sheriff's department officers went?
Not precisely. I had a general idea. They were to my east for situational awareness purposes and safety, but not exactly where they were.
So you know they headed east, but you don't know specifically where?
I do not.
So if we wanted to know where the sheriff's department officers searched, we'd have to ask them. Is that fair?
That is fair.
Now I want to break it down a little bit on the timing, because I think you corrected me that you got dispatched at 2:40. Is that right?
That is correct. That's when the call came through.
And I thought that's the time that you arrived, but that's the time you were actually dispatched.
Correct.
So if this call actually initially came in at 2:30, it would have been 10 minutes later before y'all were dispatched.
Correct.
And then you said it took you 15 minutes to get there.
Approximately.
It's foundational.
I object.
And so that would put you there about 2:55?
Correct.
And then you waited there for the other officers to get there. How long do you think you waited?
After I went to the front of the house, came back. 7 to 10 minutes, possibly.
So we're talking a little bit after 3, is that right?
Yes.
So a little after 3, then you all get there and you do that initial perimeter search. How long do you think that initial perimeter search took you?
Approximately 10 minutes.
So now we're talking about 3:10. Is that fair?
That's fair.
And then when you finished that initial perimeter search, you all headed south.
Correct.
And how far do you think you hiked south of the house?
I would like to say about a quarter of a mile.
How long do you think that took you?
About 10, 15 minutes, possibly.
So now we're talking 3:20, 3:25, is that right?
That is correct.
So that would have been almost an hour after the original call that you finally found Mr. Kelly.
Correct.
Quarter mile in 10 or 15 minutes. I trust the time measurements from this officer. He's used to recording distances and times. His experience there.
And
so
you
that's,
said you
that's
thought there
important.
were 7 sheriff's department officers. Do you know that for certain, or is that a guess on your part?
That is a guess on my part. That's approximately.
So if the officers say there were a different number of them, would you dispute that?
I would not.
So the defense is asking you to speculate about what the defendant may or may not have done an hour before you made contact with him. Is that what your understanding was of their question about what was causing his demeanor at that time?
Correct.
And it's been an hour. Is there any way that you can know what caused Mr. Kelly to be calm at the time that you observed him?
Of course not, no.
The defense also asked you to speculate whether Mr. Kelly's response to this incident would have been reasonable or not. Is that what your understanding is of what they asked you?
Yes.
What that is based on is entirely on what Mr. and Mrs. Kelly said to you, though. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So you wouldn't know whether this is reasonable or not unless you actually observed what happened, correct?
Well, correct.
Now, the judge has asked you to, allowed you to testify to some issues on expert testimony. And so I want to ask you a few things about your specific expertise.
Correct.
Now, in the years leading up to this arrest and to this incident in January of 2023, can you tell me how long it had been since you had a narcotics arrest in the Keno Springs area?
Narcotics arrest, at least approximately 2 years before the incident. It's probably the last time I had a narcotics seizure in that area.
And the defense, what are the majority of the arrests in that area?
In those 2 years prior to the incident, mostly just regular groups of illegal migrants.
When you arrest migrants, do they have weapons generally?
Generally, they do not.
Can you tell me the last time you saw an AK-47 prior to January 30th of 2023 in the Keno Springs area?
Personally, I haven't seen an AK-47 in that area.
Ever?
Ever, not me.
Except for the one
Are
Mr.
you
Kelly was
familiar
holding.
with any RIP crews in the Keno Springs area?
No.
What's the last RIP crew that you're familiar with in Santa Cruz County?
The time Agent Terry was shot and killed.
And when was that?
Approximately 2010.
So it's been 13 years before the crime, or before this crime, that you are aware of a RIP crew in Santa Cruz County?
Personally, you weren't correct.
Now, the defense asked you about the arroyos and some of the roads that lead down to the border wall. So if we could go back to that. And I want to go back to Exhibit 114. Actually, I think it's Exhibit 115. I corrected the numbers on the slides. So Exhibit 115. Your Honor, could we publish that?
Submitted.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Everybody can see that?
Sounds like
So
the waterfall
let's
stirring
talk a little
quietly in
bit
the
about
background.
the arroyos that run through the Kelly property. Defense asked you a bit about them. I think you highlighted those with yellow before, is that right?
That's right.
Those arroyos or washes, do they go first to the east to the National Forest?
It depends, but yeah, they branch out from the National Forest coming down, I believe.
So they go from this road here, I'm trying to figure out from the road, the Kelly's driveway. It branches sort of east and north, a little bit to the north, is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
And the one that goes east and north, does it go off the Kelly property
It does.
and onto the National Forest?
It does.
And is there a Border Patrol road along where this wash comes out in the National Forest?
It could be. I would need to look at the map, but it could be. Leading up to where the fence is, or
Is there a Border Patrol road that goes
there is a Border Patrol road.
along the east of the Kelly property, south to the border?
Yes.
And then you can see that the wash also goes sort of southwesterly, is that right?
That is correct.
And are there also Border Patrol roads that go towards the border in that direction?
Well, I wouldn't say they're called Border Patrol roads. They're forest, National Forest roads. But yeah, there should be some roads intersecting those washes.
They're actually Forest Service roads, right?
Forest Service roads. Correct.
Okay. I meant to say that you all use them, though, correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
And so that wash actually empties onto another road as well, correct?
Yes.
And that road does that road sort of cut along the bottom of the border wall?
Yes.
So this testimony now supports Daniel's testimony about the road, the Border Patrol road that heads to the wall. So this is good redirect here.
Now, defense asked you a little bit about the bundles that Mr. Kelly talked about with you. Could you describe for the jury what those bundles that he was describing to you look like?
Usually meals, as I stated earlier, that people carrying bundles of narcotics on their backs. Usually big square bundles, half of the size of my torso or bigger, usually wrapped in burlap, and they're heavy.
And
we're
did
almost
Mr. Kelly describe the bundle to you, or did he just say bundles?
He just said bundles.
Can you tell the jury, have you also seen like a woodland camo backpack?
Yes, usually migrants, regular migrants, use backpacks, kind of like school backpacks, the size of school backpacks. But they're imprinted with that woodland camo, kind of like the ones that hunters use with the leaf imprints, green in color, brown in color, yes.
And when you see those woodland camo backpacks, do you generally see those with migrants or with narcotics?
With migrants.
Fanny packs. Do you see fanny packs sometimes?
I have seen fanny packs, correct.
Who do you generally see the fanny packs on?
Me personally, I see them usually on females. I have seen them on males, but the majority of the time, females will use the fanny packs.
And when you see them on males, what's the situation generally?
It depends.
Could be anything?
Could be anything.
Could be migrants, could be narcotics, could be anything.
Could be scouts, could be anything. Yes, correct.
So girls or other
Who
people
do you generally
carry
see
fanny packs.
radios on?
Radios
and hunters.
We see them on scouts, people that are leading the groups, but we have seen them on aliens as well, so it depends.
So sometimes you actually see them on an alien, not just a scout.
Correct.
And when you see them on folks you term scouts, that could be for migrants or for narcotics.
That is correct. Could be for both.
And is that also true for binoculars?
Correct.
But you also see those binoculars on other folks as well.
Correct.
You see them on bird watchers?
Bird watchers, hunters.
The photo that the defense showed you, do you have any idea what that photograph depicts?
The photo of the person that was perched up on him, like I stated, it could be a scout, it could be a hunter. I wouldn't be able to really tell what he was.
You couldn't see a weapon in that, correct?
No.
And you have no idea when that photo was taken or who it is of?
I have no clue.
So I want to make sure I understand exactly how far away the Washington camp area is from this location. You said you think it's 3 to 4 miles away, is that right?
Approximately, that's my thought, yes.
And you talked about how that might be a potential load-up area for narcotics. Is it also a load-up area for migrants?
Yes.
I used to carry a firearm in what looks like a fanny pack. It was a quick release. You could grab the zipper and pull, the thing tears away, and you've got access to a firearm there. But don't do that anymore. Because who wears the fanny packs anymore? Scouts, hunters.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the location of the Kelly property. Now, the Kelly's house is actually to the far north of their acreage, correct?
What's the other landmark? I'm sorry.
Of that parcel, that 170 acre parcel, they're right at the edge of where their fence line is, right? You talked about where their gate is.
Yes.
I'm going to object, Your Honor. He testified before he wasn't that familiar with this area, and so I don't believe he has personal knowledge of it.
I object.
Objection sustained as to, the first question you asked was it close to the border of the Kelly's property? There's no foundation that knows what the outlines of their property are. But then you re-asked the question about whether they're not, how close they are to the fence line. So just re-ask the question,
sure.
Something for which there may be foundation.
You know where the Kelly's fence line is, correct?
The front gate, yes. I don't know the whole property, yes.
But the fence line and the front gate.
The front gate, I know where it is.
And that's pretty close to the Kelly residence, correct?
That is correct.
Because you hopped that wall and we saw that on the map.
I hopped that fence, correct.
Okay. And what's just to the north of the Kelly property?
It's just open fields and a road.
And just to the north of that?
Should be Keno Springs, the road.
And is that a residential neighborhood?
That is a residential neighborhood.
And are there a number of houses in the Keno Springs residential neighborhood?
Yes, quite a number of houses.
And it's not, is it that far north of the Kelly property? The road's about a mile, but how far north of the property?
About 3/4 of a mile.
About a mile from the property, yes.
Okay. Do you know what a Normandy barrier is?
I do.
Could you describe that for the jury?
At the end of our area of operations, or the end, let me rephrase it, at the end of the fence, the bollard fence, where it ends, where it stops, there's these sort of barriers put in place. They're steel barriers made out of steel sections of rail that resemble the Normandy barriers used in France during World War II that were put in place on the beaches by the Germans. That's why they're called Normandy barriers. So once the fence ends, we have this section of Normandy barriers to prevent vehicles from driving into the United States with, illegal narcotics or weapons.
So is that just basically big crisscrosses of metal?
That is correct.
And is that, you said it's past where the border wall ends. Is that to the east of the border wall?
That's to the east of the border wall, correct.
So would that be in the area where the National Forest is?
Yes.
And that's east of Keno Springs?
Yes.
I think that's all I have. Thank you, Agent.
Thank you.
Any question or other questions for this witness on the jurors? I see none. Very well, sir. Thank you. You may step down.
No questions. I'm going to see if I can pull up a map.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Deputy Monreal.
Give me just 1 second here.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. The state calls Gary Wisdom.
There's a website out there called Acre Value. I'm going to see if I can show you right now. This big area here, this is the property. The shaded area in the center of the screen is the property that is owned by the Kellys. So you've got lots of little properties nearby, but the Kellys have this. This is roughly 170 acres. They say 173. This shows 167 acres, but they own all this property. Their house is way up here. Okay.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you, sir. If you would please come over here.
Let me fix the camera so its timing is a little better. Hang on. The border's about a mile and a third
Good
south.
morning, Mr. Wisdom. Can you please state your name for the record?
Gary Wisdom.
And I think the common spelling, but can you spell your name for the court?
Gary Wisdom.
So, I've got some different speakers up here, so it's very difficult for me to know whether or not you're hearing it or not. So if you have a problem, you gotta let me know. Otherwise,
Sorry. Mr. Wisdom, can you just spell your last name for the report?
Wisdom.
Good morning, Mr. Wisdom. Can you just also then briefly introduce yourself to the jury?
My name's Gary Wisdom.
That was very
And
brief.
how long are you a resident of Santa Cruz County?
Yes.
What part of Santa Cruz County? Don't give me the address, but what part of Santa Cruz County do you live?
East side.
East side? Are you familiar with Mr. Kelly's residence?
Yes.
Where are you in proximity to Mr. Kelly's residence?
I live on North River Road.
For us, where is that in direction to Mr.
That's
Kelly's?
south of the Little Red Schoolhouse.
It's past the big
Well, I don't think
tree.
anyone here knows where the Little Red Schoolhouse is. So, are you to the west, to the
Turn
east,
right before the
north
ditch,
of
past
Mr.
the
Kelly?
tree. Then it's by that hill.
To the north.
To the north. In Keno Springs?
No, North River Road.
Okay. Close by. How, as a crow flies, how far are you away from Mr. Kelly's residence?
Oh, probably about 6 miles.
6 miles. And how long have you lived here in Santa Cruz County?
I was born and raised here.
Born and raised in Santa Cruz. And what do you do? What did you do for a living?
I worked with a utility company for a few years. And then I went to work for the golf course in Keno Springs.
And then, are you still working for the golf course?
No. Sometimes I do things for him, but not very often.
He's a golf
So what
pro.
do you do now to keep your days busy?
Take care of my cattle.
And how many head of cattle do you have?
About 36 head.
36. Calving season about to start?
How many feet is that?
Yes.
Have you always had 36?
No, I had more than that at one time. I got rid of some because we didn't have any rains last summer.
Rain dictates how many cattle you keep on hand, right?
Yes.
And that's for the vegetation in the area?
Right.
Are you free range? You allow your cows to go wherever?
Free range.
And do you ask other neighbors to allow your cows to graze on their property?
No.
No.
I lease from Keno Springs.
You lease from Keno Springs, okay. And obviously you know Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
How long have you known Mr. Kelly?
20 plus years.
A long time.
Quite a while.
When I say no, are you acquaintances or are you friends?
Well, we've been friends.
Like friends, like you see him every week? Talk to each other?
No. No, I've known him for about 20 plus years.
Okay, and I'm just going to jump forward to, were you in Santa Cruz County around January 30th of last year?
Yes.
I don't want to talk about what you may have heard, but you're aware of what happened on January 30th, right?
Yes.
You know what happened, or allegedly happened, right?
Right.
Did you speak to anyone? Did you speak to anyone, either Mr. Kelly or Mrs. Kelly, after January 30th?
Yes.
Who did you speak with?
Mrs. Kelly.
And did Mrs. Kelly indicate to you anything about January 30th?
Objection here, sir.
I'm asking if she...
Yes or no, so yes or no, you can answer yes or no.
Could you repeat that question?
Did Ms. Kelly indicate to you anything about the event of January 30th? Just that's a yes or no, Mr. Wisdom.
Yes.
Did you have conversations with Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'm asked to go on to the...
Your Honor, I'm going to attempt to deafen everyone simultaneously without warning. Can I do that? Okay, so he's asking to go into an area here. He's going to ask some questions. Oh, man. I've been drinking too much Mountain Dew for this. Now the camera pans. Got a sharp focus of the gangster style of wearing headphones, which is on the back of the neck. If any of you do that, that's clearly the sign of a gangster. We have bidet audio. We can't talk because the headphones aren't working. We're going to change out the batteries, maybe replace the receiver. Fun little fact about these. I'm not saying to do it, but these systems are fairly readily available commercially. And listening to these systems is very easy to do if you're in the area. They're often on the same frequencies that a lot of churches use for their hearing impaired transmitters, which is right around 72 megahertz. So a little scanner that can pick up that low band just below the FM radio range can pick up these conversations at court. It's probably at least no. I'm saying the FCC. Look at the label. Look at the label. You must receive. It's legal. It's legal. It's not encrypted. It's radio waves. They're free. They're open to the public. It's not like you're listening to somebody's private telephone message. Just multiple people conversing. I'm not a criminal. I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. A little Yaesu FT50R ham radio or something you can pick up for used for $50 would let you hear what's happening in the courtroom during those conversations. It's legal. I promise. I wouldn't lead you down this path. Greeners. The transmitter power is limited, but the receiver power is not. You can have the best antenna you want, and you can pick up signals from very far away, even directional signals. Yes, this is it. It's like a walkie-talkie. You can listen. The technology for these headsets is not complex. They're not encrypted. They all operate on the same frequency, so you can swap out receivers. It's a little transmitter, and everyone gets to hear. Now, I'm just saying, the judge will order that that's not allowed to be broadcast. But that doesn't mean you can't listen in. Waldo, throw me under the bus there. I think the judge has a fish tank. Any guesses on the type of fish he has in the tank? Maybe it's not fish. No, it could be a reptile tank that has a water fountain in there. Wrong answer is only what does the judge have in his office that we're listening to as the white noise. Obviously, the bidet has been suggested. Electric eels, piranhas. I don't even know what that is. Ooh, sea monkeys. Just a little great white, says Florida Sun Life. Thank you.
It's going to take a little longer than I expected. I'm going to excuse the jury. I'll stay here in the courtroom with the lawyers, and we'll work on this issue. I'll have the bailiff take you out. Please stick around. Don't go too far away. It shouldn't take too long.
Might want to eject the witness, too. It's a Playmobil set of Niagara Falls. The gentleman who walked across the screen, he's the guy who yells at court, and he also beats the gavel. He pounds the table with the gavel, and he yells to rise in court. Did I say Yaesu FT270? I said Yaesu FT50R, is what Just happens to be one that I use for that.
Let's see. All right.
He has a broadband.
You know, in our sidebar conversation, not getting a very specific statement about what this witness would say, what's anticipated he would say. So let's do a little trial run on that. Let's see where it goes.
Ooh.
Sure. So we're going to ask some questions. This is like a trial run. We're going to, again, there's no right or wrong answers. It's just honest answers, right? So just give an honest answer. We're just going to do a little trial run so I can hear what the nature of this testimony is. All right, go ahead.
And just, you know, I reviewed the transcript, so I will correct myself a little bit. Mr. Wisdom, did you have a conversation with Mr. Kelly about prior instances of people on his property?
Yes.
And do you remember how long ago that was?
2 years.
2 years ago? And I think your transcript indicates 2 to 3 years ago. Would that be about right?
Yes.
And that conversation was about what?
He had called me up and told me that there was a group of heading back into Mexico. And he had fired a shot up in the air. And told me I should probably go check my fences and make sure they didn't get cut.
I can barely hear
And
this.
did you tell me anything about being careful about that?
Yes, I did.
Tell the court what you mean by be careful about that.
Boosting the audio.
For shooting, you know, up in the air. Could be dangerous for him.
And did he ever indicate to you that he patrolled his area with an AK-47? He never told you that?
No.
We'll withdraw that kind of question, Your Honor. That won't be asked. But the first part clearly is 404B. We motioned this in a pretrial motion. This is clearly indicative of a pattern by the defendant here. This eerily relates to this incident, shooting at people heading south on his property. Shooting in the air, shooting his weapon in the air, similar to what's going on here.
And Judge, I think we already pretty extensively briefed the issue, so we're just sticking with our objection.
We'll say it again here in open court.
It's very long ago in time that this is alleged to have taken place. It's not clear. We can tell from the witness that he had a conversation with Mr. Kelly about this. It's not clear when the incident actually took place that Mr. Kelly is allegedly talking about. And it's not clear, again, how many shots. It's not clear if people were armed or not armed. And this witness just doesn't know. There's insufficient information for that to be probative. And we think the prejudicial effect outweighs the probative value of that evidence, and that it could be used as propensity, which is not permissible. So for those reasons, we object.
So, thank you. It's unclear to the court what the foundation is, or if there's foundation as to not when the telephone call occurred, or the conversation occurred, but when the subject alleged incident occurred. That's important to the court's analysis on the court.
Well, yes, Mr. Wisdom, did Mr. Kelly give you any indication of when this happened in time?
I don't know if it happened that day.
Was it close in proximate time to when he called you?
Yes.
So it's close in time to the phone call?
Right.
And I don't think there's foundation for that. I mean, the witness is being agreeable, but how does
That's why I'm arguing the witness.
Sure.
Right.
You're saying that you and Mr. Kelly had a conversation, and that was what you said, that conversation took place 2 or 3 years ago. Is that what you said?
Yes.
And in the conversation, Mr. Kelly told you something about firing a weapon into the air, right?
Right.
Did he tell you when he fired that weapon into the air?
No.
Did he give you any information about when that took place at all?
No. I think it was that day he called me.
What you think it was that day? Did
Right.
Mr. Kelly tell you it was that day?
Well, I figured it was that day because he told me to go check my fences to make sure they didn't get cut.
So that's the only reason you have to believe that that took place on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to turn down the noise.
Just a minute, Your Honor.
Man, why? Why do you do that to us? I mean, I'm glad I was turning it down at the time, but still. Okay, we'll turn it down here. CLO, thank you for gifting 5 memberships.
I think we got the information.
Anything else? So clearly, Your Honor, he's indicating the time, proximity. When he received the phone call, Mr. Kelly tells him to go check his fence line, so that gives you also an inference that happened on that day, hence the phone call to Mr. Wisdom.
This issue is governed by Rule 404B of the Arizona Rules of Evidence, which provides in subsection 1, except as otherwise provided in Rule 404C, evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts is not admissible to prove the character of a person in order to show action in conformity therewith.
Rule in doubt.
Subsection 2, permitted uses. This evidence, however, may be admissible for other purposes, such as proof of motive, opportunity, intent, preparation, plan, knowledge, identity, or absence of mistake or accident. The court is mindful that we've had hearings on these conversations and related conversations, some of which are memorialized in text messages. And I've ruled on the text messages. I've ruled that some of those text messages are admissible, but I did it on the basis primarily that it showed preparation by the defendant for what is alleged to have occurred in this case. But all those text messages that the court will allow to be introduced with proper foundation were very proximate in time to the alleged event in this case, within days or within, I think, 30 days or so, probably less. The court would admit those text messages on the basis that it would tend to show and be probative of the defendant's preparation for the events that occurred, but also mindful, of course, of Rule 403. These incidents are alleged to have occurred about 2 or 3 years prior to this alleged incident, so the basis upon which the court admitted those other text messages is not present here. It can't show preparation for this. It doesn't tend to strongly show preparation for what's alleged to have occurred here because it happened 2 or 3 years prior. It's prejudicial in that really what it tends to show, and what the court infers it is being offered to show, is that this defendant has a propensity for violence and willing to use violence on his property, even if his sister weren't. Also under Rule 403, the court excludes this evidence, finding that its probative value, which is minimal given the lack of proximity in time to the events that occurred. The court may exclude relevant evidence if its probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger of one or more of the following: unfair prejudice, confusing the issues, misleading the jury, undue delay, wasting time, and needlessly presenting cumulative evidence. I think this evidence would tend to be used by the jury to show, if they would use it for such, but they would use it to try to infer that Mr. Kelly has a certain propensity for being willing to use violence in these situations, and that's an improper use. I appreciate it very much, Mr. Jenny, bringing this to the court's attention out of the presence of the jury.
So the judge is saying,
objection sustained.
Objection sustained. He's not going to allow this witness to answer those questions where he tells the... Are we going to go back to headsets? No? Jury's coming back in. He's not going to allow the state to ask questions about this conversation that they had with the witness a couple of years ago, where he said, hey, we just had a group come through, had to fire some shots at him or something, and you might want to check your fence and see if they got cut. Because it shows a propensity of the defendant to use violence in this type of situation, and that would be inappropriate. So the jury's not going to hear that. We heard that outside in a proffer, outside the presence of the jury. Jury's coming back in. They don't know anything about that, and we're going to skip over these questions. The judge used a lot of legal definitions and sort of spelled out his logic on that. This is a win for the defense to not have this come in, because it definitely does make him look bad. But the judge just sort of spelled out for the appeal, for the record, how he based his decision. He says, I will allow other things in that were more relevant to the time period, but because this was several years before, that would be inadmissible under Arizona law.
Right before.
Sounds like the proper thing to do.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a seat. We resolved the issue. We're ready to go forward. Mr. Jetty, whenever you're ready.
Mr. Wisdom, I think I forgot to ask you, how big is your property?
About maybe 2,000 acres.
Whoa.
Do you have, it's a big piece of property. Do you have any hands, any help?
I have friends that help me out.
Okay.
I got
Industrious,
friends
36
in
cows,
low
great.
places.
36 head graze is on your 2,000 acres.
Yes.
Let me ask you, do you patrol your area? Do you walk your 2,000 acres?
No.
ATV, horseback?
I used to ride on horseback.
Do you go out on your property though, often?
Yes.
And do you carry any weapons when you go out?
No.
You don't carry any guns?
Yes.
Are you afraid?
I just don't take them with me.
And this is always a personal question, Mr. Wisdom, but can I just ask you how old you are?
73.
73. And in your time, have you always owned that 2,000 acres?
I don't own it, I lease it.
Lease it. And how long have you been in that area leasing 2,000 acres?
19 years.
19 years. And do you see a lot of people coming on your property?
No, not usually.
I'm talking about migrants from Mexico.
No. I used to see them quite often, not so much anymore.
When did that stop? Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay. And when they came on your property, were you afraid?
I just go the other way.
Go the other way? Do you call in? You report it?
Pardon?
Do you report it, seeing people on your property?
I have.
And you report that to which agency?
Border Patrol.
Border Patrol.
$2,000 acres that he leases. He doesn't own it. He leases, lets cattle, only 36 head of cattle roam in 2,000 acres because there's so little water. There's just not.
Have you ever used a weapon to scare anyone off your property?
No.
Why wouldn't you do that?
Why would I?
Why wouldn't you?
Objection, relevance.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
You lease property that is, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. The property that you lease, is that at least some of it adjacent to Mr. Kelly's property?
Yes.
And you've known Mr. Kelly and you've known him for a long time, right?
Yes.
And you've known his wife Wanda for a long time also, right?
Yes.
Okay. And does Mr. Kelly sometimes contact you to let you know that fences have been cut?
No, not usually. No.
Does he sometimes let you know that fences have been cut?
No.
He doesn't let you know about fences being cut?
No.
Okay. Have your fences ever been cut?
Oh, yes.
How frequently? Is that something that happens pretty often out there?
It used to happen more than it does now.
Okay. And when your fences do get cut, that can cause problems because your cattle can get out, right?
Right.
And then you have to go out and make repairs to your fences, correct? And so is it pretty standard for you to check on your fences pretty regularly?
Usually if I see some cows that are out, that are up there in the village in Keno Springs, then I go check to see where they came to.
Okay. And it wouldn't be unusual for somebody, maybe who has a smaller piece of property, to go check on fences pretty regularly, right?
Yes.
To make sure that they haven't been cut, right?
Right.
And I think we want to just make it clear, you don't live on this property that you're leasing, is that correct?
No.
So Mr. Kelly lives out there, right?
Yes.
You lease property that's adjacent to Mr. Kelly, right?
Yes.
And you live somewhere else, right?
Right.
Do you live near Keno Springs or more near Rio Rico?
Keno Springs.
Keno Springs, but near the Little Red Schoolhouse?
Right.
Okay. Have you ever seen people on your property, illegal aliens on your property? That's something you've seen, correct?
Yes.
And I'm assuming most of the people you see probably don't have weapons, correct?
I've seen them with weapons.
Most of them probably don't, right?
Yeah,
You have seen people with weapons, correct?
yes,
How often have you seen people with weapons on your property?
several times.
Several times. How big of a group did you see on your property on those several times when you saw people with weapons?
How big of a what?
Of a group, how many people did you see?
It could be 3 to 10 to 12 people.
You've seen groups from 3 to 10 to 12 people on your property?
Yes.
And those groups that you've observed, you've seen some of those people to be carrying weapons?
Yes, I've seen weapons.
What kind of weapons did you see, if you
I
can
don't know
tell?
what they were.
Were they rifles or handguns?
Rifles.
Rifles? And you've seen that on at least 3 different occasions?
Yes.
Okay. Did you observe anything else about these groups who were carrying rifles on your property?
No,
Were they carrying anything else?
they had backpacks.
Were they large backpacks?
Yes.
Okay. And were these men in these groups that you observed?
Pardon me?
Men you saw in the groups?
Men?
Were they men?
Yes.
Okay.
I figured they were probably carrying drugs.
And why did you figure they were probably carrying drugs?
They wouldn't have no other reason to be going through those.
Right.
Carrying that.
Were they wearing camouflage? Do you recall?
I've seen them camouflaged, but most of the time dressed in black.
You normally see groups dressed in black when you see people carrying rifles. Could you tell, and if you can't tell, let us know, but were you able to tell how many members in the group had rifles? Was it all of them, some of them, or something different?
I don't think all of them are carrying rifles.
You don't think all of them carried rifles?
Like I said, if I saw them like that, I'd turn around and I'd go a different direction.
Makes sense. Those groups, when you did have those several encounters that you're talking about, were you out by yourself on that property?
Yes.
In a vehicle or on foot or on horseback? Vehicle?
And on horseback.
So on different occasions, you've been out there either in a vehicle or on horseback, and you've seen groups of armed men.
That's what he said before. So he
Yes.
Let's ask
Sorry.
another question.
When you say they're wearing black, were all members of the group wearing black to your recollection?
That I can remember, yes.
Okay. Did you report these instances to Border Patrol?
Yes.
Those 3 instances you reported to Border Patrol?
Right.
Do you recall how quickly Border Patrol was able to respond?
Fairly quickly.
How quick is fairly quickly?
Within 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Okay, so 10 to 20 minutes. Were they able to apprehend any of these people as far as you are aware?
I'm not aware if they apprehended me.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Be direct.
I was worried the defense was going to open the door there with the questions about the calls from the defendant about cut fences.
Mr. Wisdom, you talked about backpacks. You saw backpacks. How far back in time was that? How long ago?
It's been a couple of years.
A little while ago, right?
Yeah.
When we're talking about backpacks, are we talking about the ones that kids wear to school, or are we talking about a different size backpack?
Bigger backpacks.
Can you describe what a backpack that looks like?
I'd say it's probably about 3 feet long and maybe a couple of feet wide.
Pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Then you said the people that you saw with those kind of backpacks, and some of them had weapons. I think that was your testimony. They were all wearing black.
Yes.
I didn't ask you this, but do you see Mr. Kelly in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Where is he sitting?
Over there behind you.
Behind me, right behind me. Is he sitting at the defense counsel table?
Yes.
Your Honor, can the record reflect the witnesses identify Mr. Kelly?
So ordered.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Any questions for
They do
this
that with this
witness
witness,
from any of
his neighbor, but not with their star witness. That was interesting.
Would this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Wisdom, you're excused.
Thank you, Your Honor.
State and calls next witness.
State calls Deputy Monreal.
Deputy, we're switching from Border Patrol to the sheriff or the police. So it sounds like they're describing what would be considered a camping backpack instead of more like a school backpack.
Or sir, step up.
Nice suit there.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter is the truth, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Got to grab a book from the bookshelf. One second.
Thank you, Your Honor. Could I have them, sir? Good morning. Could you please tell the jury your full name and spell your last name for the court reporter?
Good morning. My first name is David. Last name is Monreal, Monreal. Additional Fabian, Fabian.
And are you a deputy with the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Department?
Yes, I'm a deputy with the Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office. My badge number is 191.
And Deputy Monreal, how long have you been with the Sheriff's Department?
I've been employed with the Sheriff's Office for over 6 years.
And could you tell us, have you spent your whole career at the Sheriff's Department?
My whole career has been with the Sheriff's Department. It's been 5 years, consisted of a detention center. I did 5 years, and the year and a half approximately has been with the deputy side.
So you were a detention officer in our jail here for 5 years, and then for a year and a half you've been a deputy.
Yes, correct.
Could you just tell the jury a little bit about your training and experience?
My training experience, when I started at detention, it was back in 2017, June 24th. I went to the academy, which is Coda Academy, Tucson, graduated from the academy. I then spent those 5 years at the detention center where I was going to trainings, various trainings on how to deal with inmates, interact with people. Then was also a supervisor in the year of 2019. I became a corporal supervisor where I would have more training. I was sent to trainings for how to communicate with staff.
I was the water boy.
Then I became an interim sergeant for the year of 2021. After that, I went to the academy for the deputy patrol side. I went to the academy in 2022. I went to the academy of June 25th. July 25th of 2022, I went to the academy in Cochise County, where I graduated December 8th of 2022.
I had 51st dates.
Various trainings from defensive tactics, interacting with people, domestic violence, how to interact, how to talk. And from there, the training, when I graduated, I was placed in a 3-month training here with the Sheriff's Office with different trainers where it became 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks as well.
There were 8 crazy nights.
I was trained by
there.
3 different officers during the course when this incident happened.
They called me Big Daddy. Yes, we've got
Was
all
your
those movies in
training
there.
complete, or were you still on training at the time of this incident?
I was still in training. It was my phase 3. It was 3 approximate. I was in the streets 7 to 8 weeks. I was still in training. My 7 to 8.
And so on January 30th of 2023, who was your field training officer?
My field training officer was Deputy Arlette Cabrera, batch number 139.
And when you're on your field training, does that deputy, that field training officer, do they shadow you the whole time?
The whole time, she's always next to me. I cannot leave her side. If there's a call I'm responding to, she's next to me. I cannot leave her side. She's always there to me.
And were you riding together in a vehicle?
Yes, we're riding together.
Now, on January 30th of 2023, did you and your field training officer get dispatched to a call?
Yes, we did.
And was that at 100 Willow Cross Circle?
Yes, correct.
Do you know what time you were dispatched to that call?
Call came out approximately 14:47 hours.
And what time is that in non-military regular people time?
2:47 p.m.
What time is that in people
So
time?
you got dispatched at 2:47. Do you know where y'all were when you got dispatched?
We're here at the sheriff's office, 2170 North Congress Drive.
And when the call was dispatched, there are calls that you go to that you turn on your lights and sirens, and then there are calls that you don't turn on your lights and sirens. Can you tell us what the difference is?
Right. So the difference is our dispatch could dispatch any call, such as we need assistance, or keep the peace. It could be any call that is thrown over the radio, and we'll just respond normal traffic, driving normally. But when there is an emergency alert tone, it's an approximate 2 to 3 second sound, which is kind of, you can't forget that sound, a little beep in the radio. And it makes me just, remain silent, listen to the radio, pay attention what they're going to tell you and what's going on. Once we hear that and we know where we're going, we activate our lights and sirens. And that's usually when we also drive over the speed limit, and just pay attention to traffic and what's going on and go to that emergency.
So was this a toned out call or was this a regular call?
It was a tone-out call.
And so when you got the call, I'm assuming you turned on your lights and sirens and sped to the location. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Were you driving or was Deputy Cabrera?
I was driving.
And when you got toned out to the call, how long do you think it took you to get out there to Keno Springs?
Do not recall, but approximately at least 20, 30 minutes from here from the sheriff's office.
When you got there, what did you observe?
When I arrived there, what I observed first was 2 Border Patrol agents standing at the gate.
Were you and Deputy Cabrera the first Sheriff's Department officers to respond?
Yes, correct. Also, as well was Sergeant Yulia Garcia, batch number 130, and as well Deputy Cristóbal Castaneda, batch number 144.
Did they arrive at a similar time to you, or, were you together? How did that work out, if you remember?
They were right behind us.
Were there any other deputies other than the 4 of you?
No.
When the 4 of you arrived and you saw the Border Patrol agents, where were the Border Patrol agents stationed when you got there?
When I got there, they were right at the gate of the entrance of the residence.
Were they on the inside or outside?
They were outside the residence gate.
So not on the property, just outside the property?
That's correct, outside the property.
Once you arrived and you saw them there, what did y'all do?
Once we arrived, first of all, we came out of our units with our long rifles. All of our deputies had our AR rifles, which is issued by the county.
Why'd you have your rifles?
We had our rifles due to the fact the call came out that there were shots fired in the area. We were not knowing what was really going on other than shots fired in the area.
So anytime there's a shots fired call, that's how you're going to respond with your rifles?
Yes.
Do you take those kind of calls seriously?
Yes.
Do you get those calls a lot?
No.
You don't get shots fired calls very often?
It's not very often since I've been out here.
Okay. And when you got out of the vehicle with your rifles, what'd you do with the Border Patrol agents?
I approached the Border Patrol agents and they briefed me on a little bit of what was going on, what they knew about.
And after you had that briefing, what'd y'all do?
After we had that briefing, that's when we decided to try and search the area.
When you say search the area, what were you looking for?
We're looking at the point, at that time we're looking for any threats and as well for Mr. Kelly due to the fact that Border Patrol agents had told us he had left searching for himself.
So there's something called a security sweep and then there's an actual search. Would you describe this as a security sweep or a search at this point?
It was a search, basically.
a search, what are you looking for?
Just looking for any subjects that have weapons, because at the time, Border Patrol had told us there were armed subjects.
So isn't that what a security sweep is? Aren't you looking for a danger?
And we were looking at.
Let me ask it again.
His objection is sustained.
No, it's sustained. Don't ask it again.
I'll ask it in a different way. A security sweep, what does a security sweep entail?
Well, security sweep tells basically look as much as we can. So we're trying to look. We're not looking under every rock, basically, or moving every pebble we could find on the floor.
Okay, but what are you looking for?
We're looking for any threat, any immediate threat. Since there were shots fired, we're looking for someone.
So what you referred to as a search, were you looking under every rock when you were doing this, what you referred to as a search?
We're looking as much where someone could hide or be or place themselves as a human being could hide behind or.
This is going against what the state wants.
And were you looking for them for a reason?
We're looking for the reason of just shots fired and as the reason of they were possibly armed.
Okay.
The state does not like that answer. Because now they have somebody saying they did a detailed search and they didn't find the body. They tried to correct it and he doubled down and they lost on this one. And now she doesn't know where to go.
Did you describe this in your report in some way?
The search?
Yes.
I don't recall if I described it. I do believe I put a cursory search of the area.
Cursory search? Is that how you would describe it, as a cursory search?
Yes.
Can you tell me, I'm going to show you what's been admitted. Should I get the number right? As Exhibit 114. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
This has already been admitted. Can we publish, Charlotte? Not coming up. Oh, it's over there, but just not up here? Okay, oh good, all right. Sorry, I was waiting for that to come up on the TV screen over here, so pardon me. So, can I go on? Thank you. So, can you tell us what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 114?
This we're looking at a basically Google map picture from the residence.
And when you say the residence, is that the Kelly residence?
Yes, correct.
And I'm going to zoom it in just a little bit. Do you see on this map the area where you came in through the gate?
Yes, correct.
And can you show us, if you touch on the screen in the upper left-hand corner with that stylus that's in front of you, if you touch the upper right-hand corner, it'll give you a color. And then if you circle the area where the gates are located. Just to the north of that area on the map, do you see a different, something in that area? Is it possible that the gates are a little bit further north?
Yes.
Okay, so if, let me just undo that for you.
This moment of ASMR is brought to you by.
Can you circle now where the gates are located?
Zipper and packaging.
What did you do when you chatted with Border Patrol? You said there you were on the other side of the gates. How did you get into the property?
At that point, we then got off our vehicle and we opened the gate.
Okay, was the gate unlocked?
They had a chain, I believe.
And what did you do with the chain?
Just took it off, opened it, and opened the gate.
So was it just wrapped, the chain, or was it locked?
At that point, it didn't have a lock. It was just wrapped around.
Okay. And so you opened the gate at that point. Did y'all drive in?
No, at that point, we just started walking in.
Okay. And when you walked in, what did y'all do?
When we walked straight towards the residence through the road.
Okay. And so I see a dirt path on the map that's on the screen. Is that the dirt road you followed?
Yes, correct. It's going to be this road here.
And what did you do after you followed the dirt road? Where did y'all go?
We went towards back of the residence, towards this side, due to the fact we couldn't find a way, the fencing it had. We're trying to way to jump the fence or go under the fence.
So there was actually a fence behind the house?
Yes, correct.
And that area where the magenta line is that you just drew? Okay. And what did you find as you walked along the fence line?
We were able to find, which looked like a ladder that was placed to be able to jump the fence, which was located behind this structure. So the ladder should be located around this area.
And when you say a ladder, could you describe what that ladder structure was like over the barbed wire fence?
It's just a ladder, probably the 4 or 6 feet ladder that was placed on top of the fence. Then it had another part going down on the other side.
So it's just 2 regular ladders along the fence line, or is it 1 ladder with 2 pieces? Do you recall?
Do not recall.
But it was a ladder on, somehow there was a ladder structure on each side of the fence?
Correct.
And what did y'all do, were you all 4 together at this point?
At this point we were, since we were able to find that access to go over the fence, and all 4 went over the ladders, over the fence.
And how large was the area that was fenced in that area? Do you recall?
Do not recall. But
did you search inside the fence line, or did you go outside that fence line?
we went outside the fence line. Once we jumped that ladder, we located another fence where we did have to go under the fence.
Okay, and so you actually went under the other fence?
A second fence.
Did y'all go together? Did you split up? What did you do when you were in this area?
Once we went under the second fence, we started to divide ourselves a little bit wider, try to divide and see what we could see. I did have to stay with Deputy Cabrera. I could not leave her side, so it was mostly 3 searching part.
So the 2 of you went one way and the other 2 deputies went off in other directions?
That's correct.
Do you know what direction you and Deputy Cabrera went?
At this point, we went more of the east and then south style this time.
Do you recall if you came to a dirt road? Did you go as far as the dirt road?
Yes.
You did. Did you go past the dirt road? Or did you just go to the dirt road?
We went down to the wash that is located down here, in this area.
Okay.
Into the wash. After the wash, we hit this dirt road.
Okay. And how did you get from where you were down to the wash?
Where we were, we just started walking east to the top of the search.
So you went east and then south?
Okay.
And do you know what the other deputies did? If you know.
Do not recall. They were to my left, so probably a little bit up more and around the same area.
They were to your left?
They were to my left. Right.
Okay, so if you're walking east, then that would put them north of you?
A little bit, not very far.
Okay, and so you think you all hiked around down to the wash? Did you all go that direction, or did they go different directions?
It was basically most of the same direction, just a little widespread of feet apart.
Okay. And then when you came down to the wash, did you discover anything?
No, did not discover anything.
What was the brush like? Do you remember?
It was medium sized, dry, probably knee high.
If anything had been laying in the brush or hiding in the brush, would you have seen it if you were not right on top of it?
I'm object to
Overruled.
No, at the point, honestly, no, we're not searching really low.
You weren't searching low, but if someone had been hiding in it, would you have been able to see them?
No, honestly, no.
At any point, did you see any sign that there had been large groups of people through that area?
No,
Did you see any sign of anything?
not at the moment.
Okay. And then you said you hiked down into the wash. Did you see anything in the wash?
No, nothing.
And then you said you hiked over to the dirt road. Is that right?
Yes,
Is that like a driveway through the Kelly property?
it's like a 2-track driveway around the property.
And what did you do when you got to that driveway?
Once we got to the driveway, we decided to go back, myself, Gabriel Cuen, decided to go back to the residence, see if we could speak with Ms. Kelly, see if she had been in contact with Mr. Kelly, either telephone or he probably made it back to the residence.
And without telling us what she said, did you all talk to Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
I think right here in the middle of this picture.
And then what did you do after you talked to Mrs. Kelly?
After we talked with Ms. Kelly, we then got back into our fully marked patrol unit, myself and Deputy Cabrera, and drove down to the 2-track we had, came walking back to the residence.
And did you encounter anyone?
Once we drove down the 2-track, later on we encountered Sergeant Yuya Garcia.
And did Sergeant Garcia tell you that she heard something?
Yes, Sergeant Yuya Garcia stated that she had heard a canine down the 2-track and to make herself drive down there to see if we could locate Mr. Kelly or the canines he was with at the time.
Sergeant Garcia was your supervisor on that occasion, is that right?
Yes, she was.
And so she directed you to head on down the driveway to see if you could find the dogs and Mr. Kelly.
Yes.
And did you do that?
Yes, we did.
And what did you observe when you drove down the road?
When I started driving down the road, I then observed the Border Patrol agents walking up the dirt road along with Mr. Kelly.
Did you see anything else with Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Kelly was carrying, well, he had his canines, and then he also was carrying a long rifle on his right arm.
You said his canines. His dogs? How many dogs?
Yeah, I recall, I remember one. You have two.
You just recall one dog?
Yes.
Okay. And you said he was carrying something else with him? What else was he carrying?
He was carrying a long rifle, an AK-47.
And how was he carrying that?
He was carrying by the stock, the back part of the weapon, and the muzzle was pointing behind him.
And I see you pointing to your right shoulder. Is that the way that he was carrying it, over his right shoulder?
Yes, correct.
And did you document in your report which arm he was carrying it on?
Do not recall if I documented which arm it was.
He already testified to
If I
right
showed
arm.
you a copy of your report, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Trying to follow along with my little map here on the screen.
Yeah, for sure.
What's happening? Let's see. Sounds like they searched just this little area around the house, came down in the little arroyo or the valley here, went down, met up with this road, which is not very far. It's only, maybe 100 yards, 150 yards. Doesn't seem like a long distance. Unless they came up further up the canyon, came down the wash.
Show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 1.6. Is that a copy of your report?
Yes.
Could you take a look and see if that refreshes your recollection?
That's my map. Sorry, I was putting that up there.
He's right.
Okay. Has that refreshed your recollection?
Yes.
Did you document it?
Yes, I did.
And what did you document?
Documented the long rifle was on his right arm, right side.
Did you note what the long arm was? Did you note any details about it?
The details that really stand out to me was it had an approximate 3 or 4 in length inch flashlight with an orange button. It was on the right side of the firearm, long rifle by the barrel. It was, what really standed out to me was the orange button, and that it was being held with something that looked like black duct tape.
Did you notice what kind of weapon it was?
Notice it was appeared to be an AK-47.
Did you note anything about the stock or the grip?
The stock and the grip was a dark in color wood grip, handle, and stock.
And did you notice anything about the metal?
The metal you can see is worn out, light charcoal gray color.
After you made those observations, did you talk to Mr. Kelly while you were there on the road?
Yes.
And do you see Mr. Kelly here in the courtroom?
Yes.
Would you describe what he's wearing and where he's sitting for the court, please?
He's wearing a long sleeve, squared blue, light blue shirt. He's wearing a Levi's jacket, vest.
Before I move on from the weapon, did you know anything about whether the AK-47 had a strap or not?
Do not recall.
You don't remember?
For those who are not familiar with the
when you
firearm,
chatted with Mr. Kelly, what is
Stock
it that
image.
he told you happened that day?
He said that day when I spoke with Mr. Kelly was that he had heard a gunshot.
Did he tell you where he was, first of all?
He was standing by the kitchen Ayden in his residence.
By his kitchen island?
Yes.
And what did he tell you he observed? Where did he observe something through?
When he was standing by the kitchen Ayden, he observed through his living room window. He had observed those 5 subjects, possibly wearing backpacks, camouflage, and possibly carrying rifles.
Did he tell you whether they were running or walking?
That they were running south, and he had also seen his horse was running back and forth in distress.
So he said there were 5 subjects. He saw them from the kitchen through the living room window, and he saw 5 subjects running south.
Correct.
Does that accurately summarize that part of the statement you just told me?
Yes.
And then, did he say if he heard anything?
He did say he had heard 1 gunshot.
What did he say he saw when he heard the gunshot?
He saw all those subjects running south.
And did he see anything else with respect to his horse?
And his horse running back and forth, startled.
And did you indicate that he said his horse was in distress?
Yes.
Does that accurately summarize that part of Mr. Kelly's statement?
Yes.
What did he say he did after he made those observations?
After he made those observations, he stated he went to his front door where he has the AK-47, and he grabbed it and walked outside.
What did he say about the AK-47 and where he keeps it?
He then made the comment when he was grabbing the AK-47 of his baby's always by the door.
Okay, does that accurately summarize what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes.
And you said that he went outside, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Did he tell you which door he exited?
The main, by the living room door, where the gun was.
So is that on the
It's going to be on the
north side, the east side, south side?
south side of the residence.
So that house is sort of at an angle, right?
Right.
So the south side, is that also like southeast? The southeast patio door?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the map.
up is north here.
So if this is north-south on the property, let me zoom it in for you. Can you point with using the map, using the pointer, which which side of the house you believe that was. Was there a pergola out that direction? Was there a pergola on the side of the area where you thought he came out of the house? Or was it the other side of the house? Do you know what a pergola is? Gazebo?
Gazebo. Do not recall.
You don't remember?
No.
And so the area where you've just drawn the map, it looks like there's a wall around it, and that's where the front door is. Is that where you think he came out?
Yes.
You think he told you he came out the front door?
That's correct.
Once again, the state is getting testimony that's not accurate from this witness. He's not remembering it accurately. Everything else says their story is that he came
And
out.
did he say what he did after he came outside?
After he came outside, he just stated he followed them with his canines.
And you said a minute ago that he saw the subjects, and what did he tell you they were, what did he tell you about what he observed?
He observed the subjects that they were wearing camouflage, also backpacks, and some were carrying rifles.
Did he say they were carrying rifles, or did he say they were something else?
They were carrying rifles.
And does your report document that they were carrying rifles, or that he told you they were possibly carrying rifles?
The report does say I stated possibly.
And which is accurate?
Possibly is accurate.
So he told you that he exited the residence, he saw the subjects, and they were possibly carrying rifles.
Yes, correct.
And you said you also remember him saying that they were carrying backpacks, is that right?
Yes.
And did you say camouflage?
Yes, correct.
Did you have information that somehow there were reports of shots fired?
The information of shots fired was the one when it came over the radio.
It got dispatched out that way?
Correct.
And so did you ask him about that?
Didn't ask him directly about the shots or.
Did you ask him if the subject shot at him?
I did ask him what he had heard and what the shot, if they had shot at him. Correct.
And how did he respond?
He responded he did not know of what direction they were shooting, or if they had met other cartel members and they were doing a shootout.
Okay, so let's stop with the direction first. He told you he didn't know what direction they shot, is that right?
That's correct.
So does that accurately summarize what he said to you?
Yes.
And then you said, he said something about a shootout. Can you tell me what that was about?
It was about, he didn't know if the reason why they were running or the shot was fired, if it was another rival cartel members had a conflict between each other.
Have you ever seen that happen in Keno Springs?
No.
And so he said he thought they encountered another cartel, and what did he say he thought happened?
He did believe that they were just cartel members, rivals, that shot at each other and they just started running south.
And did he say that he thought they were scared from the shots?
Yes.
Does that accurately summarize what he told you?
Yes.
What did he tell you he did after he made those observations?
After he made those observations, that's when he just tried to follow the subject south with his canines.
And did he tell you how many canines or dogs he had with him?
Do not recall.
You don't remember if he documented that in your report?
Right.
If I showed you your report, would that refresh your recollection?
Yes.
Is it still in front of you?
Yes.
Could you take a look?
So the big mistake on this witness, first of all, he's young. We're losing some. We lost the feed. Our cameraman is down for the count.
Did he say he observed?
He didn't observe him. You didn't see him anymore. He wasn't able to have visual of them. He stated they probably made a south and wasn't able to see them.
So he said he never saw them again after he followed them with his dogs.
Right.
And he said they made it south.
We don't need to repeat every time. This is to all counsel, okay? Because you're all doing it. We don't need to repeat every time what the witnesses just testified to as a preface to the next question. Just ask the next question. Right? It's not directed just at this common practice. It takes our time. It's a waste of time. Just ask the next question.
It's a waste of
Did
time.
he tell you where he thought they made it back to?
She's been repeating it and putting it up on the screen.
Does that accurately summarize what he told you?
Yes.
Now, after you had this conversation with Mr. Kelly, did you talk to him about another officer?
I did inform him that Deputy Cristobal Castaneda, badge number 144.
Sorry.
I apologize.
It's all right. You know, people get up there, they get a little nervous, very understandable, especially under the circumstances. They don't realize how fast they're talking about doing
Judge says, slow down, man.
Just try to slow down.
Way slower.
I did tell him that Deputy Cristobal Castaneda, badge number 144, would be the main officer of the case, and he would be speaking with them.
So Castaneda was the main officer, is that what you said? I'm
Yes.
sorry, I'm having a little trouble hearing you. That's why I'm kind of repeating what you're saying, so I'm sure I have it.
Yes, he was the main officer.
Okay, and so you told George he was going to talk to him.
Yes.
And after
I have trouble hearing you, so I'm
you
repeating you
told him
verbatim.
that, what did you do next?
After that, myself and Deputy Gabriel apologies, got in our unit. That's when I asked Mr. Kelly if he needed a ride back to the residence.
And what did he say?
He stated no, that he was going to walk back with his 2 canines.
With his 2 dogs, which he said there was
At
only
some
one.
point later, were you contacted, does that end your investigation in this case?
Yes, at that day it was.
The next day, were you contacted by the Criminal Investigation Division?
Yes, I was the following day.
And when you were contacted by them, what did they ask you to do?
They asked me if I could describe the weapon, or if I could identify the weapon that Mr. Kelly was carrying the day, on 30th.
Did you go and look at a weapon?
Yes, I went to the sheriff's office, to the Criminal Investigations Division office, where they showed me a weapon.
And was it the right weapon?
No, it was not.
And do you remember what time that was?
Do not recall the time.
Would your report reflect what time?
Yes.
Do you want to take a look?
Take a look in a book. We lost audio again. Come on, guys. Somebody's turned off the audio.
During the day, we were asked by the Criminal Investigations Division to assist them in searching the residence for the weapon.
What time did you go out to assist with that search warrant?
Do not recall the exact time.
Would it help if you looked at your report?
Yes. It was at 11 a.m. in the morning.
And when you got out there at 11 a.m., did they ask you to look at a different weapon?
Yes, I was asked to look at a different weapon.
And where was that weapon?
That weapon was located in a room. It was found by Detective Sergeant Flores. It was located behind a door to a room, beneath a coat.
And when you looked at that weapon, what did you discover?
When I saw that weapon, I realized it was the same weapon I had seen Mr. Kelly carrying the day before.
And could I need to show the witness a picture?
He is not enunciating very clearly. It's making it difficult to understand what he's testifying to. Recorder's like, I have no idea. It's just mash the keyboard. This is all I hear.
I'm going to show you an image from State's Exhibit 34.
Hey,
image
cameraman.
number 4636.
Welcome to trial, cameraman. We're excited that you're able to join us.
Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what does that item appear to be?
The item appears to be an AK-47, the weapon I had seen Mr. Kelly carrying the day before.
Is that the item you identified as the AK-47 that Mr. Kelly was carrying?
He just said yes.
On January 30th of 2023?
Yes, it was.
You're going to move for admission
Permission to
of
publish.
image number 4636 in item 34.
No objection.
Just there, I'm trying to track it.
You don't look at the screen.
So what's the exhibit?
34, Your Honor.
It's going to have a flashlight taped to it if we get to see the picture ever,
Okay, so it's not photos.
which is distinctive. Most of these firearms do not have a flashlight taped to the barrel. Oh, come on. Just put the picture on the screen before somebody sits in front of it. It's the one time we've got to see the screen.
It's not tracking again. I'm just trying to see if I can track so I can call it up by the number. But let me just get clarity if I may. This is evidence number 34.
Exhibit 34, correct.
Photo of the rifle.
Correct. Image number 4636.
For this
I think you can
photo,
see the judge in the reflection of the TV.
34, I would have no objection.
So this is one page from, as I understand it, another exhibit, exhibit 34, without objection, page number 4636, and exhibit 34 is displayed.
There it is. There we go.
And is that the weapon that you observed?
Yes, it was.
That's the AK-47 Mr. Kelly was handling.
Hope you enjoyed that
I'm
view.
going to show you another image.
Camera.
This is 4637.
Why?
In the same.
Yeah. Do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what is that item?
That's the AK-47 Mr. Kelly was carrying.
Is that the other side of it?
Yes, correct.
Move for admission of exhibit 34, item number, image 4637.
No objection.
Page 4637 from exhibit 34 is displayed.
And is that the other side of the weapon?
Yes, correct.
Your Honor, I'm going to ask the detective to show the witness the weapon, which we have in evidence.
Ooh, they're bringing in the actual weapon. It's not just going to be the images. So this will be secured. This will be safely probably boxed up and tagged and bagged and unlocked. The clerk's like, oh, I've got it right here behind the desk. I've been watching it carefully. Let's watch who gets flagged by this. He's now spun it in a full circle just to make sure everyone knows that at some point it was pointed at them. Breaking out the gloves, a little bit of latex ASMR.
Just so you know, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I've ordered and had this particular item of evidence, this weapon, double checked and triple checked, just to make sure it has no live ammunition in it. So I'm ensured that it's completely safe for display.
It says handle with care. If he drops this, though, I'm gonna die.
Detective Ayden, could you please show the witness exhibit State's Exhibit 101? And please don't do it so that it doesn't show to the jury.
Drum roll, please. Ta-da! Ta-da-da-da-da! There's a picture of an M16.
Deputy Monreal, do you recognize that item?
Yes.
And what is that item?
It's the AK-47 Mr. Kelly was carrying on January 30th.
You're going to move for admission of State's Exhibit 101.
May I approach the box to look inside?
May I look inside? May I please make sure it's the right one? Says defense. It's going to be.
Could you show defense counsel, please? Without
Spoiler
showing
alert. It's the right one. She's going to grab it. Let's see. I don't know. That serial number. I can't. She's literally, she's making sure it's the exact same one.
But I'm not sure what exchange is happening, but if there's some kind of question, we need to have it on the record. And if counsel is touching things, she needs to put on a pair of gloves.
Spicy. Spicy.
Why don't you talk to him? Yeah, talk to this one. Make sure I have the answers. You got any-
I'm just getting identification on this in the back.
Whoa. Counsel needs to put on gloves. Bag it, tag it. Wait, show the jury. Show the jury. That's coming next. There's going to be an objection here. I don't think there will be an objection.
Brother, could we have a discussion sidebar about
Let's do this.
Let's kick the jury out.
No, let's do it.
Oh, here we go. Noise. Oh. We'll turn it down just a little bit. We're going to have a discussion right now about the appropriateness of what just happened at the witness stand. And I'm going to express my frustration and anger that she touched things and that she might have been talking to our witness or talking to someone. And I didn't hear what it said, and I'd like to know what happened in case it was something that I should know about. Yeah. Anyway, that's going on right now. And the judge is getting the earful. And the other side is going to say, I was just checking to verify it was right. Nothing untoward happened in that moment. The witness would testify to it. Her deputy, her counsel investigator, lead investigator would know everything that happened because he's right there next to him, so he would be able to testify to that as well. Did you touch it? Did you leave fingerprints? Dog showers turned on. Judge is waving the law around like he wrote it. Defense counsel did not lick the weapon. The recorder always looks like they're pounding the keyboard because every keystroke, instead of typing letters, they do combinations. So almost always they're pressing multiple keys at the same time. And so it's a set of, 2, 3, 4, I don't know how many different keystrokes they press at the same time with those devices. But they're spelling out sounds, and it together makes a word. Or it's code for a word, I guess you could say. So it looks like she's pounding on the keyboard instead of typing. It's a very different system than a keyboard that we're more familiar with. Very difficult to use. Man, they're fast. Do you see the younger female defense attorney used to be an MMA fighter? Whoa! Not water running in my bathroom, but if they take much longer and I have to listen to this, I've had 3 Mountain Dews this morning. I'm ready for a lunch break. CBD, you could teach a course on this. The $10,000 typing machine. Stenographers can do about 200 words per minute on their machine without blinking. So water noise is who plus oosh. Oosh.
I had moved for admission of State's Exhibit 101. And if council will check your exhibit list that we emailed you this morning, it's on there.
101 is
Your Honor, could the detective display this for the jury, please?
Now show and tell is up.
Why don't you come over here? Come over here.
The cameraman's like, don't show it. Whatever you do, don't show it.
And while the detective is displaying that for the jury, is there also inside the box the black electrical tape and the flashlight that you observed that were on the flashlight?
Yes, correct.
That stays in the box.
Don't take it out. Oh, he's pointing at the jury. Pulls the barrel out, points it at the jury. Now it's pointed at the court clerk. Now, you know, the witness. There we go. Let's keep it
Can you turn around
so the jury can see. It is a side load. It ejects on the right-hand side. That's a strap. The strap.
And Deputy Monreal, when you looked in the box, was there also
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
So for obvious reasons, this has been admitted in evidence. For obvious reasons, we don't intend to send this back with you to the jury room, as we will with all the other exhibits. If you really need to see it, we may do it. But if you take whatever look you need to use right now or have right now to make sure you have a familiar exhibit.
Why don't we pass it around like they did the knife in the last trial?
the judge, I think, wants them to get a better look, so if you could move a little, maybe a little
Do you
closer.
have a question about the problem viewing the, hold on a second. Yeah. What's the issue?
Your Honor,
What's
is it
your,
proper to ask a question regarding an attachment, I'm sorry, an attachment that was added onto the weapon to the rubber?
you and the other jurors will be allowed to ask questions at the close of the witness's testimony. So write it down so you don't forget. Has everyone had a chance to look at the weapon the way you want to? Yes, juror number 10.
I would appreciate some accurate measurements of the weapon.
All right, put that in the question.
I'd like to take some accurate measurements of the weapon. He sounded young.
Yeah. All right, you can put it away. Are you done with the exhibit?
I'm not, Your Honor. I just need to show the electrical tape and the flashlight. Deputy, you also mentioned electrical tape and a flashlight?
Back up here facing this.
You also mentioned electrical tape and a flashlight. Is that also contained in the box?
Yes, correct.
Is that the electrical tape and the flashlight you saw on the weapon in the way that it is shown in the photographs?
Yes, it was.
Could you hold that up just so that the jury can see it, please? The bag, please.
The tape and the flashlight.
He doesn't want to touch it.
Can you flip it around?
So that's very cheap. It's a handheld,
Detective Ayden, could you
handheld
maybe display
flashlight.
that for the jury? I think some folks down here on the other end are having trouble seeing it.
Maybe pause right here because I'm not sure what's in that little question.
Yeah, why don't you go to the defense table?
This is a mess. This is a mess. The judge is trying to direct traffic.
Going into the lunch hour a little bit, but I would just prefer to finish this so we can put this stuff away. So sorry about that.
That is what I'd say is a $10 to $15 flashlight with a with some electrical tape. It's a very cheap.
All right, let's recess for lunch. I'm going to send the jury out. We'll stay here and keep working on the issues. You're excused for lunch. Remember the admonition of the court. We're going to recommence at 1:30 this afternoon. Please be back in the jury room slightly before 1:30.
So that flashlight definitely was not a surefire, Picatinny rail mounted flashlight that you might see on more of a professional setup. This is more like something you might pick up for $5 to $10 at Lowe's. It takes a couple AA, AAA batteries, and it has a little orange button on the back. And then they just taped it to the barrel. Once the jury's gone, we'll get to hear a little bit of this discussion here. I think there's some spiciness here. I think it's developing. We don't know if this gun killed Gabriel because there's no bullet collected. We we might hear some testimony that this gun is capable of causing the type of wound that Gabriel had.
The records show that the jury is absent, and there's no fun. Everyone else can have a seat. You can have a seat, stay or leave as you wish, but if you're going to stay, have a seat.
Your Honor, the envelope is still in there. Just want it removed from the plastic bag so it doesn't provoke the question what's in the envelope. We don't have it admitted yet because it's done with another witness, and it should be walked across to the jurors.
What's in the envelope?
Casings.
Your Honor, that's the casings I mentioned that you said not to worry about, so I wasn't going to worry about it. We have a good faith belief that the expert who shot the weapon is going to appear tomorrow and identify those casings.
That's all that's in the bag, the casings?
No, in the bag is the flashlight and the black electrical tape, in addition to the casings.
The casings,
they're inside an envelope.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Can we take the envelope out and let them see the plastic bag?
Is the plastic bag sealed?
I'm not sure.
Let me see the plastic version.
Just pass it to me, says the judge.
I haven't seen any of this stuff. I just need to see the bag.
Judge doing air traffic control in the courtroom with the evidence is hilarious. Don't stand there, turn this way, don't hold
plastic bag, Right, okay, so the question I was asking was whether it was sealed with tape to preserve the integrity of the chain of custody of the evidence. I'm not seeing that on the plastic bag, so we'll just take the other little bag, little manila envelope that the casings are in, just take them out.
I don't have a problem with that, Your Honor, as long as we put them back. The box itself was sealed until the court unsealed it to check to make sure that the weapon was safe for the jury. So that was the set integrity seal, just for the record.
So there's no integrity seal on this bag.
Correct.
So when you want to display it to the jury, you can just take the casings out, keep them separate, and then you can take the other things out of the bag.
Sounds fine, Judge.
It'll be even better. How's that, Ms. Walthorne?
That's exactly what I was requesting, Your Honor.
All right.
This is poor evidence handling.
5 after 12, we'll continue at 1:30 after lunch.
Can someone
You can reseal this up if you want.
If the detective could.
Okay, so we're done. They just cut because the judge stood up. And we're done. All right. So here's the thing. This is poor evidence handling. They should not have had those casings. If the casings were not in the gun at the time that they found it, they should not be in there. And it sounds like the person who fired the gun has these are casings. They shouldn't be calling them casings if they're actually unspent rounds that were loaded in the firearm. So it just seems like a strange evidence handling. You could have fixed all this by having a separate bag with these bullets, especially if they're casings that were picked up outside on the property or something else. But either way, we are ready for lunch now. I'm definitely ready for a break because, wow, the white noise water sound has had its effect on me. So now I'm not going to take any phone calls. I can't wait. I can't wait, guys. I'm not a camel. Let's see. Fun spiciness, though. Fun spiciness is happening. Let's see. Interesting. Let's see. Let's do this. I'm just thinking, what time is he coming back from lunch? In an hour? We come back in an hour? Does that work? Because it's 3:05 right now. We come back at 4:15. Holy cow, it's late in the day. All right, I think we got some of the tension between the two lawyers starting to show up. Some of the battle back and forth is starting to get good. So we're going to handle that as it comes up with other witnesses later on, because they're starting to battle each other. So that being said, it is time to play the music and go to lunch. Almost dinner time, really. But we're going to take a lunch here.
People do not get to have it their way.
All right. In the words of Becky Hill, I'm resigning, effective immediately. This cameraman is struggling today. Their placement of the subject in the video is great for news, but it's poor for courtrooms. Courtrooms, you like to have them more centered, and here they're using the rule of thirds. if you're familiar with that. It's not as good for courtroom setups. Let's just put it that way. You've got a lot of dead space in the image that we shouldn't have. But let's see. Tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better, and please stay safe till we go live again in about an hour. About an hour as this continues. Can I pet the horse and the dogs? Just quickly, this last witness, who is fairly new on the force, he comes, even though he's been there 6 years, he comes across as being sort of green on the force. He was still under training. He's got some problems. He says there was only one dog, then he says there was 2 dogs. He's said both back and forth. He's got his testimony wrong a number of times. He's a big problem is where he said that the defendant came out of the house, came out the main door instead of the back door. And they tried to get him to say, oh, he came out by the pergola, right? And they're like, nope, he came out down below where the curved thing is. So, yeah, they've got some issues. They're probably going to be able to resolve them because there are other witnesses that will testify to that as well. But can you have supper? Supper's a good thing to have between lunch and dinner. Oh, man. All right. We will see you guys at the other side of the lunch break. Have a good one. Be nice to each other. We'll be back. We'll be back. I promise. All right. We'll see you guys. Bye-bye.
Have them send someone with more experience.
The zombie apocalypse may be upon us.